That hurt.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What an idiot! Oh!
What type of Muppet does this?
It's Muppets. Absolute Muppets.
I'm not going to be the best person to give a whole explanation here, but that's...
Booty, booty! Sing, sing! Booty, booty!
Fucking deal with it.
What are we really doing?
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
A zebra in between a tarantula and an elephant
has been nothing more than a sham.
Yeah, we didn't play well, but you know what? At the end of the day, we got the job done.
It's going to be a good time for sure.
Oh, sex with the first cousin would indeed be incest. And
Welcome to the Straight Red Card. Sex with your stepsister would not be called incest unless you're Jeff Carlisle.
It's funny they bring that here. Jack Pineda says, come for the sucker, stay for the incest.
Well,
At the same time, Brian DeMarco says, come for the U.S. men's national team, stay for the incest.
Question mark? Well, at least they didn't write it as C-U-M. But
autocorrect and all, it's the worst.
I do like the fact that whoever commented on that on Twitter was like, oh no, I mean, because obviously people still don't know the definition of the word blackmail. Apparently don't. But they're like, if Jeff Carlisle wrote the article, he'd call sex with your stepsister incest for sure.
Oh, sure.
And it isn't. It isn't.
I mean, I understand that a lot of words are changing their definitions over the past handful of years, but words have meaning.
They do.
And this is going to be quick into that topic, and then be done for it.
Okay.
I mean, blackmail indicates that there's some form of extortion or coercion. Coercion.
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
Right.
Words
are hard.
But there was none. What were the Reinas getting out of this? They weren't getting money. Well, that's not. That's the thing. It's not a do this or I'll do this, or give me that or I'll do this. It was as I worded on Twitter today, or yesterday actually, probably. It was more of a keep Gio's name out of your fucking mouth.
Right.
Moment. And
we're gonna make sure you're no longer coaching this team. So, and that's our revenge for what you did to our son. And that's called revenge. And
also want to reiterate that we're not taking the side of the Reinas in this scenario.
Hell no. They were horrible. What they did was horrible. We said that 1,000 times on this show.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that people are, a person in particular is like, why are you defending the Reinas? Nobody's defending the fucking Reinas, you moron.
We said it was bitch made to do that.
Huh?
We said from the get-go that it was bitch made.
It was horrible.
To go and spout the story just to get, not even to get him fired. At that point, his contract was ending, but.
Right, and we were the only ones, the only show that before everybody else clarified how the Berhalter versus on Berhalter incident probably went, and then it was confirmed later. That's exactly what we said, that she hit first. Doesn't justify Berhalter hitting her back and then kicking her numerous times on the ground. That isn't justified, but what we said happened is exactly what happened. And all the documents are out now. They're public knowledge. But
I think the only side that we took in that whole debacle was Gio's side.
Yeah.
Because the issue that happened during the World Cup was resolved.
Right.
And at that point, everything after the World Cup had nothing to do with him in that sense.
Right. I mean, it should have never have come out in the Immoral Leadership Conference.
We'll come back to the chart in a second. BMR wants to know why we're talking about this again. Well,
because
a little bit of fire sprung up last night about this topic.
Yeah, exactly. On Twitter. And, anyhow, just best to get it out of the way so we can move on with the rest of the show. The turn in the background says, welcome back to the Straight Red Card. Who will make the Nations League roster? I don't know, but I do know my wife, Gregg and PJ, are going to have a menage a trois. GGG is the bottom from what I hear. He's the bottom. Okay. So he's got.
Do you think the turd had to look up how to spell that word? Menage a trois?
I would guess. It's not a word that you write a lot. You might say it, but I don't think you spell it out because it's French. And
Ironically, I'd probably mess up 3.
the only word I'd get right there is, well, I'd get all right without the umlaut or whatever that's called in French, but I can spell toi.
I knew there was an R in there, but I probably would have butchered it somewhere. I could have done Minaj pretty easily.
Yeah, I guess. Like, because isn't that where Nicki Minaj gets her name? I might be wrong.
I'd imagine, yeah.
Because that can't be her real last name, Minaj. I mean, it could be. It could be.
She is La French.
She's not French, I don't think.
Of course she is.
Okay, well, she'd like you to believe that. I did watch the whole Terry Henry on Kicking It, CBS. Man, I tell you what, some tears were shed after you hear the story that Charlie Davies tells about his upbringing. Woo! Holy crap, that kid had it rough coming up. So,
who, Davies?
Yes, it gives you a different perspective.
He
grew up poor. His mom tried to commit suicide when he was in 3rd grade. Oh my God, it's harrowing. The story is like gut wrenching. Certainly worth a watch. And then Dempsey goes into his story about losing his sister. And man, you think everybody's going to start crying. And Terry Henry's talking about his dad. Nothing was ever good enough for him. And you're like, damn, that's why.
Like, I come here to talk about the show. Why are we saying sad stories?
Yeah. Well, Henry talked about how
to cry on show.
How it's been.
I'm not sure I'm giving him a Russian accent here.
I don't know what you're doing there. He talked
Soviet
about
Russia.
All right, Tucker. So he was saying it's important to, as you get older, to learn to be more empathetic and more open, and emotionally open, etc. It's an interesting thing, but he and Dempsey had a lot in common as to why they played with such anger, because both of them did, and so interesting thing to watch. Also then watch the Carly Lloyd thing, because listen, absolutely zero was on yesterday, soccer wise. I wanted to watch some of the games. Was it Cannon played against Gooch? And I wanted to watch that, but of course, all that ESPN Plus is carrying, it's not their fault. After I made the joke that, like, yeah, we all want to watch Millwall play, they have now had 3 Millwall games in a row on ESPN.
What's Sky doing that they can't play a midweek game? I understand why they can't play weekend games, because there's so many EPL games being played and shit like that, but
yeah, I don't know. Anika Mirage is Nicki Minaj's name. Okay, so it's not really spelled. I thought she was doing a play on words, or a misspelling on purpose, because that's common in the past. Ali Krieger announced she's into men again on Just Kicking It. No shit. I didn't know she never was. I don't make any assumptions about anybody. I mean, look at me. I've been talking about Fudenaris for 2 weeks, so you just can't make any assumptions.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second, since we're talking about this. Oh, we'll cover this we'll cover this here.
Okay.
So yeah, speaking of, because I was gonna make the comment that I think I find that I think all women find me, attractive.
Okay.
Joking around about the whole, like, she's back in the men, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But we had this issue with our good friend of the show, Tom Bogert, where he
Bogart that joint, my friend.
Where he kind of said some what could be conceived as snide comments towards people this week.
Oh,
he had posted a link to his article in The Athletic, and somebody had asked a question about the article, and he goes, well, you could just, pay the $2 and read the article.
Right.
Is what he's saying.
Yeah.
And then that spawned a whole back and forth, and,
sure.
You shouldn't, whatever, people are upset that he's sort of, clapping back, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And fair enough.
I mean,
I
get it.
I feel like there's an issue with a lot of people, and Arturo on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
He brings up a great point, and I have to capitalize onto it.
Okay.
Let me pull it up here real quick.
All right. Anyhow, I mean,
you probably can't read that because that is way too small.
There we go. Arturo J. Chesterton III. Somehow all those names don't seem to flow real well, but they could if I could say it properly. Tom chose to be a public figure. That's a known thing you will have to deal with as a public figure. Everybody has tons like that. Tom made a mistake, and social media market indicated it was a poor choice. I'm sure there's more. It's the show more.
It's not necessary to read any further at that point.
So
basically, he's replying to another good friend of the show, Brett or Chambers. I'm not sure if Chambers is in the chat right now. Where Chambers is basically saying oh, well, Tom was reacting to being harassed online.
Mm-hmm.
And Arturo was saying basically, hey, he's a public figure. That's what he signed up for. It's going to happen regardless, unfortunately.
I guess he is kind of a public figure now. If you write articles, are we public figures? I don't think so.
Yes, I think we are.
Okay.
I think we're known in our niche field.
That's true.
Niche field is soccer within the United States.
Right. So
not everybody likes us. Not everybody hates us. But we're definitely public figures, I would say. People within our quote unquote peers, if you will. I think higher up peers, but our peers still know who we are.
Right. That's true. I guess we're fair game, and I'm fine with that. I don't have any problem with it. Unless, you want to. I don't even have a problem being called a coward. I was like, I am a coward. I'm afraid of elevators, sharks, heights, but I'm not afraid of having people I disagree with on my show. That's for sure. I'm
all for debate and arguments.
Yeah.
I brought this up before, but when I early on in dating my wife and everything like that, she's hanging out with me and our friends and stuff like that. And some of our friends are friends that I've been friends with since high school. Mm-hmm. And she's like, I don't understand how you and Chad, I'll use Chad. Chad's been in the chat in the past. He listens to our show on feed, just to get through it in a reasonable amount of time.
Right.
But she's like, I don't understand how you and Chad can still be friends after all the times you guys just bitch and argue with each other. I'm like, what are you talking about? She recants a story about how we were bitching about a specific railroad.
Oh, we've had this discussion on here before. Yeah.
Whether it's going to Lafayette or going to Fort Wayne. And I said it's going to Lafayette, and he said it's going to Fort Wayne. And it turns out it was going to both. It splits.
I could have saved you guys an argument because I already knew that.
There was no argument. We argue.
Sure,
guys. We argue for arguing's sake. It's fun.
Right.
Know? So I have no problem having people on here I disagree with. I'll happily argue with them.
And what we do is we bust balls here. It's like, and by the way, Jimmy Conrad's scene where I busted his balls, we still talk. Obviously, we just had Tact on the show who I disagreed with, and we disagreed with. We had him on the show. So I don't understand certain people. They can't handle conflict of any kind.
It's like,
as if we disagree with somebody, we must hate them, or we must be being disrespectful of them, which is ridiculous. So anyhow,
and that's like when Max mentioned, "Hey, have you guys had Alexia?" I'm like, "No, but we would love to have him on the show."
I mean,
we bust his balls more than anybody, I think.
Yeah.
Ironically, I've got a quote of him up on here to cover today that I actually agree with him. So
right. So I mean, you have to also understand the format of our show has totally changed. When we were on Big Soccer, it was an interview show, and there was no cursing, and it was very nice and not as controversial commentary about this topic or that topic or incest or whatever. No jokes like that for sure. But we were much younger, and we were just getting into, that part of the podcast sort of world. There really wasn't one yet. We were one of the first. We were much younger than Brett.
Yo, we're going to have Jimmy on soon, so no worries. We're working on schedules. He's a busy guy.
Do you have that photo of us when we were younger?
Yeah, well, I want to cover my comment on this whole topic, though. Because
go ahead. I didn't know.
I go, one must social property to avoid the pitfalls. Fortunately, I'm knowledgeable, charming, good-looking, and humble. Everybody loves me.
What are you, the guy on SNL, Stuart Smalley?
And people
like me.
Gosh darn it.
People like me. Yeah, I saw you made some other comment and then threw me under the bus. So that was fun.
I mentioned how like you and I, we play good cop, bad cop, where
Right.
Derek comes in and negs you, and then I say, hey, I'm kind, and I make you sub to our channel.
Probably true.
I
don't doubt that for a second. How many times have I texted you and said, "Yeah, this guy's being an ass," and you're like, "Oh, I like that guy."
Yeah, I like that. I got no problems at all. I think a couple of guys have come around for you. Alec was one. Remember Alec? You didn't like Alec at first, and then all of a sudden you realized he had good taste in music because he liked your music.
Alec Calabrese, yeah, I remember. No. Alec who? Which I remember it was an Alec.
I'm spacing his name, guys. Help me out here.
But nevertheless,
I can go and find it at any point. He's up there talking politics all the fucking time.
That I can't really take. Like that's like
I don't pay attention to his politic talk.
Soccer dad, Jesus Christ. Oh, so here's this photo of us. This is what we look like when we did the show on Big Soccer, folks. So you can see Brett's actually lost some weight since then.
I know. The sad thing is, I don't know if I did.
I definitely.
I look better. I think the funny thing is, chubby younger me, which is sad because I mentioned this before the show, that in high school, leaving high school, like graduating, I was 165. I was playing soccer year round, almost daily.
Yep.
And then I went to college and did not play soccer daily, and packed on a few pounds, and then adulthood and kids, it plays tricks on you. But I don't know. I feel like maybe it's the full beard compared to just the peach fuzz or whatever. I feel like I definitely look better.
You look nice. You look like a nice guy. While I, on the other hand, look like I'm probably going to kick your ass if you say something nasty to me. So apparently, even back then,
you've changed to Santa Claus.
Derek is now unrecognizable. This is so true. I am. My wife likes Brett's shoulders. Oh.
I had the nice shirt on. That was last time that was form fitting, man. My straps nicely. Yeah.
Brett got the Wayne Rooney vibes in that photo. Well, minus the hookers. But yeah. Oh my God, Derek looks like a serial killer. I said that. I look like I'm about to beat somebody up. Like I'm angry about something, even back then. But actually, I was much nicer back then than I am now. Now I'm a real
here's a nice one for you.
Derek looks like he's in an 80s synth band. And actually, I was in a 90s, indie rock band instead. So there you go.
And Jack's got it right. I think maybe the beard covers it properly. I don't know. I mean, the cheeks alone. I don't know. I know for a fact. I don't think I was fatter then.
But do you notice that my nose is bigger now and my ears are bigger?
Yes, those are two things that constantly grow.
They just keep growing. Yeah, it's so fucking weird. Like my nose looks completely normal there, and now it's giant. I got a giant fucking nose. Why does Derek look like a supervillain? I kind of was in my own way back then. All right. So anyhow, we just thought to show you a photo, but this is what happens. This is what time
Larry
can do.
Says you're the Weezer guy without glasses.
Actually, I wore glasses back then, but not in this photo. So there you go.
You say a song about sweaters?
But I didn't. No, I didn't. And I didn't wear the Buddy Holly glasses.
To destroy
my sweater. Whoa, whoa, whoa,
whoa.
It's a good song. Good fucking song. And but best Weezer song ever, it's got to be Say It Ain't So. Whoa, whoa. Got to be my favorite by far.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Buddy Holly. Buddy Holly's a great one.
It's a good one too. Listen, I mean, they put out some great stuff back in the day. I mean,
I was going to say the older stuff's much better than the newer stuff.
I agree.
Ash Pipe, Beverly Hills. Come on.
I didn't mind Beverly Hills that much, but it is.
It got overplayed is my thing, I guess.
It's simplified. It's such a simple, not that simple's bad, because sometimes simple's great, but it was a little like they played it. It's kind of played out. Like they've used those chords before, and it wasn't new to me what they were doing there. Ears never stop growing since since I have to get new ear molds every year or so. Okay.
It's like a source. Me.
Source. Me.
BMR says hash pipe is great. I don't know about that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there's things to like about it. And there's another song of theirs that's relatively new. I'd say like 2013, 14 that I liked. Can't remember what it's called.
Maybe it's a generational thing. I have no idea how old you guys are compared to us.
Yeah.
I'm looking at BMR. I'm like, how old is he? He looks younger than me.
Look at how big my nose is. Jesus. All right. So anyhow, that's that.
That's a great use of time right there. We just talked about ourselves for so long. Derek,
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of surprised I get good reception down here.
Oh my God, you're at the line. You're
the
at
bottom of the line. Yes,
the Saudi Arabian line that they're building. That I don't know how long it's going to be. Some article said 35 miles, 31 miles. Another one said 110. One said 100. I don't even know how long this thing's, but it's going to be this slim sliver, really tall city. That's all one big giant glass box that everybody here live in.
I don't know. You're going to cram all of us into this little tiny thin line so that way you can let nature take its course. Everywhere else.
Yeah, I guess.
It stinks down here. I swear to God.
Well, it looks like
ventilation is not as good as you'd think. So it is open, but it's being blocked. This is not natural sunlight.
Well, it looks like what you're in and what it's going to look like in like 80 years when like civilizations crumbled, crime is rampant, and we all live in what looks to be a giant box of sewage.
No major city builds a slum. It just happens to turn into a slum.
Yeah, I mean, what I read though is that this is going to be for some very wealthy motherfuckers, this city. But I could be wrong. It is Saudi Arabia. There's really not a whole lot of poor people in Saudi Arabia. That's just not how it works there.
They all get paid oil money.
They do. Percentage of it. John K for $9.99. Thank you, brother. That's almost a reach around. Hey guys, just got back from a trip to Europe. We drove through Eupen. Shockingly, it's so tiny, and the stadium is shit. Hard to believe they have a top flight team. They're not going to be top flight for very long. It's not surprising they're bad. 69.
Well, I mean, that's kind of like Heidenheim, right? Heidenheim has like a town population of like 50,000.
Yeah, but it's not a shit city. It's
no.
Yeah, it's still beautiful, great architecture. I've never been to Eupen, so I don't know. But he says it's tiny and it's shit. The stadium shit, I guess.
Yeah.
Wexia is back and says the poor people in Saudi Arabia are the ones who build all this shit for free. I always thought I was under the impression, Brett, that they hired people don't live in Saudi Arabia to build these things, to do the labor.
Well, that was like Qatar with the stadiums.
Qatar.
They didn't hire local Qataris.
Qataris.
Whatever. Qataris.
Yeah. They did not hire them. Correct.
They imported them and then never let them go.
There is no such thing as a poor person in Qatar because every single person gets a chunk of the oil money. I don't know if that's how it works in Saudi Arabia. Maybe it doesn't.
Local Qataris get the oil money, but the people who do all the building don't.
That's correct because they're not citizens of Qatar. Exactly. They are indentured servants.
Oh man, I got into a debate with a bloke from England about this today.
The line?
About all the indentured servitude of people who worked on the Qatari stadiums.
Right.
And they're like, he was like basically saying like, well, Americans don't have a hill to stand on here on this front. They can't say anything about this. You don't have any more high ground. It's basically what he was saying. Somebody was like, we got rid of slavery like 300 years ago. It wasn't 300 years ago. Somebody mentioned 300 years ago. Now it's patently false.
It's not that long ago.
It was like 160 years ago.
I mean, it's barely over 100 years ago.
Well, it was 1866.
Correct.
Yeah.
So 1966 would have been 100 years, and I was born in 71. So there you go.
That's what I'm saying. That's about 160 years is what I said.
Yeah, it's not very that long ago. And the Civil Rights Act wasn't passed until what year was that? So
1960 something, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it was like 6 years before I was born.
Yeah, so I mean, here's how the debate went. It literally went. This guy was like, "Oh yeah, we got rid of slavery 300 years ago," and then the English guy was like, "Well, what was Martin Luther King and what would you call Martin Luther King and Malcolm X they weren't there 300 years ago, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, slavery ended at 1866. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X were activists against racism, which is prevalent in every country of the world.
Yeah, pretty much. It exists everywhere. So this whole idea that me as a individual, as a human being, can't criticize what the Qataris did in using indentured servitude to build their stadiums and treat those people like shit. I'm a human being. I'm not just an American. I'm also a human being. So I'm allowed to say whatever I want. And by the way, I've criticized the United States quite a bit in my time and day. So I can criticize whoever the fuck I want. I hate it when people are like, well, you don't have much right to say it because you're an American and you guys suck. Well, yeah, some of the things we've done have been absolutely dreadful.
Some of the things that happened 10 days ago we'll bitch about.
Yeah.
We may not necessarily do it on the show because it's not the show to do it on, but.
Right. Fumar gets the dates right, by the way. 64 was Civil Rights Act, 65. I did say Civil Rights Act happened 6 years, but it was actually 7 years before I was born. That's not long ago, folks. That's not really.
Larry apparently has worked in Qatar. I'm glad that you made it out okay.
I'm guessing Larry didn't build any of the stadiums. Maybe he's an engineer or something, but
Possibly.
Anyhow, horrible thing.
Speaking of engineer feat stuff that they've done, here we are talking about Saudi Arabia's The Line.
Right. It's crazy.
Basically, the idea is that they're going to make this massive city complex all in a straight line that's going to have mirrors on the sides to reflect sunlight, and
it's going to be air conditioned. It's going to be totally enclosed, and that you can get from one end of the line to the other end of the line in 20 minutes. It's crazy. Although,
well, I mean, experiencing the difference between standing out in what used to be a cornfield like my old house, and then going to my parents' house, which is literally 15 minutes away, who have a house in a wooded lot, and experiencing the difference environment there. It can be summer and like 95 degrees, sweltering, dying. You have your car AC turned on, you're still sweating. But you go to my parents' house and you're under tree lines. The sun can't get you. And all of a sudden, it's like 15, 20 degrees lower. It's actually about 10 to 15 more like it. But same thing here. The idea behind the fact that it was going to be AC, you don't necessarily even need that much AC because it's going to be blocked. But then again, there's going to be so many fucking people in that area. I feel like it's naturally going to be hot.
So you bring up a good point. It's called a canopy, and every major city used to have a canopy, i.e., when they built the streets and roads, the roads were lined by big, giant trees.
Yeah.
And that also kept the horse and buggies from running onto the sidewalk and killing people when they occasionally went nuts or got spooked. But you know what it also did? When you walked out of your house in 1882 in Bloomington, Indiana, before they called it the City of Trees, which it isn't anymore. They've cut most of the trees down. They're all dinky little trees now. No big trees line any of the streets in Bloomington anymore for the most part, except on a few streets.
A lot of Noblesville's like that too.
Yeah. And so they all used to have this thing called the canopy. And guess what? If it was lightly raining, you could walk all the way to work or walk downtown underneath the canopy. You wouldn't get wet. And when it was hot outside, it kept the houses cool and kept you from burning up on your way, to wherever you were going on foot. A lot of people travel on foot because, it's a pain in the ass to get the horse and buggy out of the barn. It's going to take you an extra 10 minutes to walk somewhere, you walked. Okay. Anyhow. All right. You're going to show a little piece of the line?
I could. Let's show a little bit, I guess. I'll turn the volume up. We don't need the volume.
Right.
But yeah, the idea is you're going to take all these cities and you're going to condense them all into this
giant block.
Straight line.
It's crazy. 34 kilometers.
The number of people, the amount of population that they can throw into this is insane. And again, I wouldn't want to live it like. I mean, I know this is a great rendition of what it looks like, but then again, as you guys can see, it's not that great.
That's what it ends up like. That's what it ends up like, is what you're saying. Okay.
They got recreation, they got retail, there's some health over here, some leisure.
Everything's a 5-minute walk away that you need. Yeah. So I guess that's
true.
Fine.
I mean, you could do that if you're making this massive complex.
That is insane. Oh my God. What's that thing flying around?
It's just a drone.
A drone? Okay. So anyhow, I don't know what the fuck that has to do with anything. But yeah, crazy concept. I was thinking a circle might be smarter because you got to, in a circle, at the two ending points, you can draw a straight line and it'd be even a shorter trip from one end to the other, right? Anyhow, I don't know.
I'm just wondering if they take into consideration when fires occur. I mean, I lived in a neighborhood where the houses were literally built, not literally, but almost built on top of each other. One house gets burst into flames because somebody forgot to put out a candle or whatever.
Right.
Or maybe they have a grease fire they add water to. The surrounding houses, all their siding and everything melt down or catch fire.
Maybe it'll be made out of flame retardant material.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
No, you're not allowed to say retardant anymore. Yeah,
no, that's perfectly fair use of it.
Yeah, just kidding. All right. Let's get.
It's actually not the word at all.
I know. I was kidding. Also, another thing caught during the week. Did you see that Jon Stewart came back? He did that whole spiel on Biden and Trump and blah blah blah, whatever, bad choices, and then Joey Behar and those fucking dumbasses the View has to be full of the most dumbest people that have ever been accumulated in one spot ever on the planet, because they are so stupid. Who the fuck watches that show? So of course they're freaking out because Jon Stewart called Joe Biden old, which is that really that controversial? Like everyone believes that almost at this point, except for like 25% of the country, right? They've seen him.
I feel like statistically speaking, everybody would assume, yes, he's old.
And then Joy's like, this is just a clip I saw. Well, he stammered Joe Biden stammered his whole life. You stupid cunt. No, he hasn't. He didn't stammer in the 80s or the 70s or the 90s or the 2000s. He just started using that as an excuse recently and said he used to have a stutter when he was like 8. Okay, well, it's back, I guess. But there's a difference between stuttering and stammering. Actually, I think there is. And if you have a stuttering problem, you might feel kind of offended. Like, okay, this guy is old, and so now he's stammering, and he's calling it a stuttering problem when he hasn't had it since he's been 8 years old. No, this is just an excuse. And by the way, you can't cover things up that long. Anyhow, Joy Behar. Oh, my God, just the dumbest person that ever lived. All right, we can move on. Let's do soccer before I lose my mind. All
right, well, I wanted to bring up a Twitter thread of an interview with Diego Luna. Because first off, I don't know if you've seen photos of him this season or this preseason, and this won't show them, by the way, but he has. Because we always used to make not necessarily even a joke, but the comment that looking at him, you would like, there's no way that he could run that. And it's not saying he was fat by any means, but he was a short and he had a build of a very stocky kid that you would look at and be like, I can't run 90 minutes.
It's like the guy that used to play, a Mexican guy used to play on Chicago Fire. He's kind of built like Blanco, but even more extremely like. His lower trunk is so short, it looks odd. It really does. But like,
looking at the new photos of him though, I'm like this kid's taking it serious right now. He is probably in the best shape of his life moving forward here. But again, this isn't going to be the photo that you that would describe this, but
20-year-old.
I have to go back through my timeline to find it. But looking at him, literally, it looks like he's lost weight. But this is different.
20-year-old Diego Luna and his son Manolo. It's given me motivation to work harder. Moving to Europe, no problem. It's just a little harder because you've got someone to take care of. Having a son or daughter is not going to stop your aspirations. Okay.
So this is all mentioned on this podcast.
Oh, look at his face. He's definitely lost weight.
Oh no, yeah, this isn't even close to what you see in the preseason photo. I'll see if I can find it if we're talking about something where I'm not displaying something, but
he's definitely lost a little weight. But that will happen to you if you have to get up at 3 a.m, 5 a.m, 7 a.m, and you barely get any sleep day after day after day after day, because that's what having babies is. Like, okay, Yeah, I mean, theoretically, you take turns with your partner, and so that works. But still, it's at least every other day, it's your responsibility, right? And so every other day, you're not sleeping a whole lot. Anyhow, that's how it was for me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I took care of most of the nights because unlike most people, once I was done taking care of the kid, my head could hit the pillow and I could be asleep in 15 seconds.
It's pretty
My
amazing.
wife would take another 45 minutes before her brain finally shuts off.
Yeah, that's too bad for you, I guess.
Whatever, it didn't bother me so much.
Luna, there's a new switch in my brain that I had no idea was possible. It's typical having a young son to look after, but everything in life is doable. That's life. It's about sacrifices for stuff that hopefully gets returned to you with success in the end. That's a wise little guy.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I wanted to bring this up because, again, we talk about all these young kids who are coming up, and you're looking like going. We look at Soto, we look at whomever else.
Conrad.
Through their youth, Conrad, and we're going, oh man, these kids are very talented, and all of a sudden they shit the bed and they just don't put the effort they want to in.
Otis Howie.
Otis Howie is a great example. Mm-hmm. And this is just one of those positive moments that you can talk about a player who is recognizing it. Like I've got I got to sacrifice, I got to bust my ass, I've got a kid now.
And the great thing for Diego is he can make a living for his family and a very good one, which could lead to generational change for he and his family. If he is a good professional. And I think you realize that at some point. You're like, listen, if I become a really great professional, I can make a lot of money in this game and secure my family's future forever. Not forever, because nothing's forever, but at least his immediate generation. So good for him. Good for him.
Cover these last two, and then I got the picture.
Okay. Luna on U.S. men's national team debut. I didn't feel like I did enough. I wish there was more I could do and show. It is what it is. The experience was awesome. I had a great time. It was awesome with Coach Gregg. He made everything clear and simple for us to do what he wanted. Well, that is really good to hear.
And let's hold off before we jump to the next one, because that right there, when we talked about his debut, we were like, he was one of the bright moments of the game.
Right.
There's only a handful of moments of people that you can talk about.
Right.
Like, I'm excited to see this person, this person, this person. And we even joked that Foot Mob gave Luna like the second worst rating.
Right.
And we're like, what the fuck was he watching? What were they watching?
Were they watching? Yeah.
But I mean, like, it's great to hear him say, well, we're sitting there going like, I liked what I saw and I want to see more of it, especially at the club and moving forward with the Nats. But he's even sitting here going like, I don't feel like I did enough. I felt like I wanted to do more. It's great. It's a great mentality to have.
Well, the other good part of it is, and maybe this is just out of circumstance, because there wasn't enough time for Gregg to put his system in with this group, that he just kept it simple and made everything clear and simple. I'd like to see him do more of clear and simple with our A team. I like to see more of that. Clear and simple, allow creativity, allow some flow, not this sideways ball and backwards ball.
You can keep the system to an extent, but loosen up a bit on it.
Loosen up.
And let them have a bit of creativity and movement without it, of not necessarily abiding by your regulations.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I take. All right, last bit, and then I'll pull up his picture.
Luna revealed that his dream move would be Dortmund or Manchester City. He could also see himself at a top club in the Netherlands or Belgium soon. His idol growing up was Marco Reus. That's so funny because Marco Reus just seems, I know he's an older player now, but it just didn't seem like long ago he was a young player. So crazy.
Well, I mean, for you, that was a quarter of a century ago. So,
oh Jesus Christ! And one retired U.S. men's national team player he wants to play with is Landon Donovan. He wants to play with. Well,
recreationally.
Okay, all right.
I'm assuming at least. I would hope.
I would
hope he doesn't think that Donovan. I'd really like to play with Donovan. Well, he's not playing. He's not playing anymore, right? No.
Oh, darn.
You never know.
Maybe, one of those celebrity soccer games, right?
Yeah.
They used to play one in New York City all the time. I remember because John McEnroe played in it. And he's actually a really good soccer player, surprisingly. Good athlete all around.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do that one, but all right, what else we got here?
Well, look at him.
Holy shit,
he doesn't look anything like himself.
He's totally transformed. He is so thin.
Yeah. No, he is ready to play.
Holy, I hope.
I'm actually gonna make an effort to watch real Salt Lake games just so I can see him play throughout the season.
God, wow, he has made an effort. Good.
Seriously.
God. Yeah, that's starkly noticeable.
Yeah, absolutely different.
I mean, doesn't even look like the same dude. Doesn't even look like the same guy.
Wow. I didn't even think about this, but David D says he looks like a young Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling. Yeah, he looks.
Does.
He actually looks more attractive too. Who knew? You lose weight, you look more attractive. I should learn from that. All right, but still, I got my big honker now, so there's not much I can do about that.
Fumar says Luna shed the baby fat. His body's matured.
Awesome.
BMR says, is that AI?
Yeah, I know.
You would think so if you've watched him in the past.
Yeah,
you would have to think like this isn't real. There's no way.
Yeah.
He's a completely different player now.
Well,
so I'm stoked to see what happens this season, and then after that, I mean, if he has another great season like he did the last half of last season, one would imagine that he's not bound for MLS for long.
I'd say if he lost the 15 to 20 pounds that it looks like he's lost, he should be quicker and faster. And he was already pretty quick. So
surprisingly, yes.
Yeah, exactly. With that build. All right, let's move on to whatever else you got next.
All right, let's see what we got going on here. Oh, we know that Gio left Wasserman for his new agent.
Yeah, more guys leaving.
He's not the only one.
Oh, really? Who else is leaving? Scally. So this is not surprising. Scally and Reyna are best friends.
Best buddies. Yep.
So something's going on there. As I previously mentioned in Spaces, Joe Scally will become the second recent U.S. Men's National Team International League Wasserman representation. This is now official, following in the footsteps of his best friend, Gio Reyna. Oh, well, there you go. Who recently did the same thing. Expect follow-up news. It would be not shocking to me. And what's shocking to me in the interview with Tight Shirt Twelman today on Lawless's show.
Control cover, yeah.
He didn't know who Reyna's new agent was. Like, he seemed confused. Like, and we don't know who's really his agent. Yeah, we do actually know who his real agent is, guys.
Multiple times.
Mendez, yeah. So it's not a mystery. And if he's going to move on to Mendez as well, it wouldn't surprise me. And yeah, I don't know why he's leaving, but
that's the thing too, because I mean, unless he's got aspirations to leave Gladbach, which is possible, don't get me wrong. Although we've argued that I think Gladbach's a great place for him to stay.
Yeah, I think
he's playing week in, week out in a top league. I don't think it's necessary for him to go to a different team where he has to fight beyond what he's already doing.
Right. I mean, he didn't start last weekend, but most weekends he's been either a right back or a right center back. So he's playing regardless of the formation too. So the thing is, obviously, when they go to a back three and they play him as a right center back, it's a little bit of an indictment on his game as a winger, right wing back, that they don't want him playing that position because he doesn't really bring the offense that you need if you're going to play wing backs. So I don't know, indictment or not, that's what they do at Gladbach. So all right, well, that's
how did with Gladbach benching Scally last weekend? How did they play defensively? Like, did they play 3-back still?
I stopped watching. No, I think they went back to 4, but I stopped watching when Pifak got injured, I think. I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember anymore.
Why go back to a back 4 and then not play your actual starting right back all the time? I don't know. That seems weird. Maybe if you're unconvinced with him as a center back and you want to throw another center back into the back 3, I could see that. But going back to a 4, that's crazy.
Well, their problem is they can't score, Brett. So maybe that's why they're doing it. Which is why they were gleeful when Pifak came back, because at least he's occasionally squeaked one in. But Gladbach don't score a whole lot of goals, and so they're nearing the bottom of the table. I think they're concerned and a little desperate, and they're trying desperate things to get goals. And the defense hasn't been horrible the whole season. But they got to try something to get more offense because they just don't have much going forward right now.
I don't know. It strikes me as odd too. I mean, I guess I don't know who came in for him at a right back, so I'm not going to say anything.
Right. I don't know who it is either. I don't even remember.
Not going to bother. I'm just saying prior to being benched, he was a consistent regular as far as the quality he brought, as far as defensively is concerned.
I'm not really saying
we obviously talk about how he doesn't add much to the attack.
That's like saying Brooks got benched, though. He'll be back. It's just one game off. He'll be back. It's not like a perma bench. I think they're just experimenting. They're trying some new things, and one of the things they wanted to try was in a more offensive right back in an actual back four, and that means there's no right center back, so there's not an extra spot for Scally to hang out in. So.
Well, Tom says Scally defensively may be on par, but not going forward. Yeah, he's not great in the attack, and that's fine. You don't necessarily need to play a wing back or a back with or back line or whatever a back with the attacking prowess of Dest.
Depends on
he offers more defensive prowess than Dest does, and I'm using the United States as an example here because Dest obviously offers more in the attack. So does Jedi. But Scally offers more in the defense. So I guess it depends on how you want to play. I don't know.
It might depend on who you're playing, too.
Yeah, that's very true, too. So, yeah.
Right. Yep. So you're right, Tom.
We'll see what happens. But this game has been played. He's been benched before, and he always finds a way back to being a starter again. You always go back to it. At some point, you'd think that the management of Gladbach would just simply say, hey, let's focus on other positions, perhaps. Instead of always coming back to Scally.
They're trying to get more happening out wide so they can get more crosses into the box to, at the time, PFOC, because that is where PFOC is good. Because going down the middle with PFOC, even though he can hold up the ball,
he can dribble despite the fact of what Davies said.
Well, Davies took that back. So there you go. All right, what else we got? This could be a short show, guys. We don't know.
Oh, it's going to be a short show.
Yeah,
so I think last show, I think it was announced already, or maybe it was rumored that United States prior to Copa were going to play a couple of friendlies.
Yeah,
and I think we talked about a rumor, or maybe it was announced at the time that Colombia was going to be one of them.
Yeah.
So officially, U.S. Soccer has announced they were playing Colombia.
Excellent.
On June 8th.
Okay, good.
This is over at Landover in Maryland.
Okay, that's interesting spot.
Yeah.
FedEx Field.
Whatever.
By the way, for people wondering, I talked to Pete yesterday, and I know people are concerned because he didn't have a show for 3 weeks or whatever it's been. He'll be back next week. He's working, so good for him. Got to make money sometimes too to pay the bills. So, but he will be back. And I don't know, how did Pete come to my mind? Oh, anyhow, it doesn't matter. Just wanted to make sure. We were talking about something else that it reminded me of my conversation with Pete yesterday. All right, he'll be back. So no, I was a little concerned too. I'm like, shit, no shows for 2.5 weeks.
Well, I mean, we've been around many of people who have come out firing with all cylinders, and then they eventually get burnt out, and that's probably what most people think is going to happen to a lot of people. I don't think Pete would necessarily be that way. And my suggestion to Pete, if he does, or anybody, this goes for anybody who's doing content on YouTube. If you feel burnt out and you feel like it's just dragging along, it's not really necessarily worth it, just post a couple of recorded videos, short recorded videos on a week until you recover. Because it's going to come back. At some point, the itch is going to come back.
Right. Nations League will be here and you'll want to cover it again. Yeah. But if you don't do anything for 6 months, or with kicking it with Drew, I think he stopped for, a year more?
A while. Sam had the same problem.
You might as well start all over again. It's like when we had to start all over again, right? When we came back to be gone for 7 years. It's going to be like starting all over because you're killing your algorithm, apparently.
Sam had the same problem when he came back, and I don't know if he's necessarily back. I think has he posted much of anything recently?
I haven't seen anything. Sam,
has Jake on his channel posted much of anything?
Like a 2 weeks ago, maybe. I don't know.
So,
I
mean, the burnout's there. The problem with this is that you hear all these stories about YouTubers and making money, and like, oh, good Lord, I'd love to make a lot of money and stop stop my day job and do all this permanently type of thing. But we are such a niche audience.
Yeah.
Not just mentioning soccer. I mean, soccer worldwide is a big audience, but soccer in the United States, whether you cover another league outside of the United States or you're just covering the U.S. soccer, that's a niche audience. I mean, it's a small enough audience as a whole, but then you take into consideration who's actually following you on on YouTube or the socials. It's incredibly small. So there'll be times where, as you were mentioning, where there's windows, whether it's Nations League, Copa, qualifying, World Cup, whatever, and those are banging. You're banging away numbers. Everything's golden,
Right.
And then there's weeks like what we've experienced since the last Nations League, actually, even considering Camp Cupcake.
Yeah.
You consider even that. There's been a couple months here where we're sitting here and it's been dry. We're looking for content to post. I mean, Derek and I are great because we can yammer about anything.
Right. But yeah, if you have to come up with a script, as a lot of people do.
Not a lot to talk about.
Yeah. We will still cover midweek report, by the way, here.
And it drops down. You guys might notice it in the views. It ebbs and flows. It goes up and goes down, goes up and goes down.
Yep.
Just, coast through the down times and bang away on the good times.
So are we playing Brazil too, by the way?
Well, we're playing Colombia, obviously, like I said, on the 8th.
Okay.
The rumor is we're also playing Brazil on the 12th.
Okay, that'd be really good. I'd like that.
Those would be great warm-ups.
Yeah.
Especially teams that we could be facing in the end.
And I'm not worried about losing or winning. What do I want to see is us play some really good football. That's all I really want to see. I want to see us play something resembling a competitive game against somebody like Brazil. Even if it, ends up as a 1-1 tie, I'd be happy with a 1-1 tie as long as we played well. If we lose 2-1, I'm happy with that as long as we played well and we were competitive and we showed something. All these are good warm-ups because guess what? We just don't have a lot before the next World Cup. We got to take and savor every single match like this that we get. That's not Trinidad and Tobago. That's not Cuba. That's not Guatemala. This is good. We need some tough competition. And again, it isn't U.S. Soccer's fault. We haven't played a lot of great friendlies because Nations League has pretty much made that damn near impossible. And that's unfortunate.
Nations Leagues across the world.
Across the world.
Our Nations League is kind of an answer to Europe.
Right.
Europe instituted their own Nations League, and at that point, everybody else is sort of scrambling to capitalize.
And then you've got the Euro qualifiers, so that counts out all those. You've got Asian Cup stuff. It's really difficult to find teams to play, honestly, that are quality, the quality that you want to play. You want to play the Germanys, and we did recently. You want to play the Englands and the Frances. Those are the guys you really want to play. The Brazils, the Argentinas, the Colombias, not quite up in that stratosphere, but good enough. I'll take it. Casanova says, sucks that Brazil is going to go into Copa with a loss, though. Well, some people say, well, we don't want to use up our win against Brazil in the friendly, so we need to lose that game.
Larry, I would love it if the U.S. played more away friendlies. I'd love it.
Yeah, I would. I would like it. Even if it's Slovenia. And
I would love for us to play Mexico away. But Mexico won't have that. They won't have that at all.
Right. I would have rather watched our team go to Slovenia to play that game.
Yeah.
Wherever else. Just get them used. But of course, we're Nations Leagues at home, World Cups at home. So a lot of people would argue
at home.
What's the point? All our big tournaments are at home until 2026.
It's a curse that we have such good markets.
Yeah,
that people want to go and watch these games, and then you'll make a shit ton of money by playing these games in the United States. That's the reason why Mexico plays all of their friendlies in the United States.
Yep.
Not even against the United States. It can be against anybody else, but they'll play it in the United States because they guarantee they're going to sell out massive stadiums.
Right. Money, 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 money.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Yeah. Okay. So good news.
yeah, good news. We'll be prepped and ready for Copa come Copa time. We have just played Nations League. We'll get 1.5 months off of just club ball, and we'll be back for. Well, no, actually, about 2 months. Let me rephrase that. We'll be about 2 months before the friendlies for before Copa.
Okay.
And then at that point, who knows what the fuck's going to happen at that point?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm itching to see, so we'll see. I'm glad that we got March coming up, and we got
something. We got something coming.
Some games coming up.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. Yes. What else you got?
All right. Well, random. It's always random what takes off on Twitter as far as hot topics. You wouldn't imagine the upcoming topic was that hot of a topic, but it started a long enough conversation that it took over my feed for a couple of hours. Not even for me responding, but still.
What was it?
And it's a question about Matarazzo being on the hot seat over at Hoffenheim, and they basically Hoffenheim's board came out and said, "Hey, if Matarazzo doesn't win this weekend, then he's on the hot seat."
Well, that seems stupid.
So he might get shit canned. Hoffenheim's currently sitting 8th in the Bundesliga.
How do you shit can a guy in 8th? I don't get it. They were not very good before he got there.
He came in, he staved off relegation, and then all of a sudden they're 8th place the following year. I mean,
and the board's saying they're going to get rid of him? What are they?
A little harsh.
Fucking idiots. It's like when they got rid of Farka at Gladbach, and then they got worse.
Yeah.
After Farka left. And now look what Farka is doing.
Right. They haven't been doing well. I think they have 3 points in the last 5 games. It has not been great for.
It's not. I get it, but it's not time to panic.
But I mean, Hoffenheim were punching above their weight for the first half of the season, and now they have a string of at least 5 bad games. They got 3 points in each in 5 games, so they got 3 ties. I think is what it was: 3 ties, 2 losses.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they're in such a good enough position from the get-go that string of bad results just keeps them mid-table. That's mid-table at that.
This is the biggest problem in German soccer. I guarantee you, if Farka stays at Gladbach, they do better this season. But no, they get rid of Farka. Farka goes off to Leeds and is now leading Leeds to 2nd place in the championship. So
5 straight wins. I mean, they've been banging in a way.
You're getting rid of a really good guy who may have just had a little bit of a drought. It happens. It happens. You can't go firing a coach every time. This isn't supposed to be the NHL where you fire a coach every 3 months. But, I mean, it happens, and it happens all the time. Thomas Tuchel's probably living on borrowed time right now at Bayern after their last 2 horrible games. I mean, horrible. So, but none of us here like Tuchel. I don't like Tuchel. I think Tuchel's a fucking shit-ass manager. I don't care if he won the Champions League with Chelsea. I really don't. I don't like watching his games. I don't like the way he sets up. I don't like the way he always fucks around with the starting lineup. I don't like the way he kills off the confidence of certain players, Kimmich and Goretzka. I mean, he basically said, you know what? We don't need you. You're not that good. And then now when the shit hit the fan, he brings them in for Champions League. And of course, what? They don't perform very well. So again, not defending Gregg Berhalter, but that was a decade ago, and Gregg Berhalter numbers were virtually the same. It's nice.
A decade ago was him in Sweden when he was at Hammarby.
Okay.
Whatever.
It's nice.
He got released in a 2nd division Swedish club because there was no offense.
I thought you said Kelvin said something smart. It's nice that.
Well, no,
okay.
No. First off, don't put me in that position. I had a nice conversation with Kelvin about this. I'm not going to say anything bad about the guy here.
Okay.
I said I agree with Lawless on his take that he brings up later. That I'm going to bring up later.
You are so nice because this guy is the worst take merchant out on. He's like literally wrong. He's literally wrong every time he tweets.
I disagreed with his points. I'm just saying I had a nice back and forth, and it was civil and cordial. We disagreed. But yeah, no, I don't agree with him on this point.
It's getting to the point where I actually think he's like, what could I say today on Twitter that's wrong? Let me post it. He does it. He's the worst. And I mean, I didn't know who he was, so I said some nasty things to him, like, yeah, you're known as like the worst cake merchant on X. So keep up the good work. We wouldn't want
given what you said to him. I'm kind of surprised he responded to me. I have that feeling on Twitter sometimes that sometimes you'll say stuff to people, and I'm like, oh, I'll never get a response from this person again.
No, they don't connect the two of us all the time.
I don't think they do. I agree. Right. They probably don't connect the fact that you're even one of the co-hosts of the show, of the handle that.
Although it clearly says that in my description on the side of the page. Again, not defending Gregg Berhalter, but that was a decade ago, and Gregg Berhalter numbers were virtually the same. Oh, God. It's nice that Pellegrino Matarazzo has been able to coach in Europe, but he hasn't done very good. He's a mid-level to bad team coach. He has less than 50 wins as a manager across 3 teams. Okay, in how many seasons? And what teams was he managing? Mm-hmm. Some of the worst. He took over for Hoffenheim when they were in the doldrums. Mm-hmm. He did the same thing at Stuttgart, right?
Yeah.
So they were not a very good team, and he took over, and he made them a very competitive team. He does a lot with them. Now, he's had some seasons that were, his last season at Stuttgart wasn't going well. The season before that went very well. So to say that he's not done very good, it's just that's somebody who's not paying attention.
It's looking at the stats and not looking at the overall context behind it.
Not watching the games either.
Matarazzo has been a coach of teams who have limited resources, and he gets the most out of them for the most part. Not all the time, but for the most part.
At Stuttgart, certainly they did not pay. They did not pay. They did not go out and buy great players. He had to work with scraps there. Now, at Hoffenheim, I get it. They do spend money sometimes. They do try to sign good players. So that's not necessarily as true there. But they're 8th. They're 8th. It's not like they're 13th or 15th. Yeah. They're 8th. Also, Matarazzo coaches in better leagues than the Swedish second league. And by the way, the Swedish league is nowhere as competitive. And Gregg didn't do that good, and he got fired because his team, although very good at possession, couldn't score in the final third and just kicked the ball around a lot and brought no real offense. That's why he got fired, because he was not offensive enough of a manager. He was just a super possession guy. Well, that doesn't work. You got to score goals. It's like now when we watch the U.S. men's national team and us kicking around the box all day, going backwards and sideways. It's not changed very much.
I guess my argument with him was sort of along the lines of, even if you don't rate Matarazzo, he's done more with less than Berhalter. And the argument is from Kelvin is that Berhalter has the better job right now. He's the coach of a national team, and he's won championships with that national team.
It's so out of, there's no context in what he ever says. Like this is a guy who lives in a void of no context whatsoever. Listen, the job that Matarazzo has to do on an everyday basis, trying to keep Stuttgart up, by the way, when he was there, is much more difficult than playing Trinidad and Tobago, Cuba, and the worst Mexican team of my life. Yeah. So please, with the best players we have ever had.
Justin Negron says, could Matarazzo coach top team? Probably not. I don't think he could. I mean, I think he could if they offered it to him, but I think there are other options out there for top teams in that argument. But I think he could easily coach the United States to just as good of results, if not better.
Better. It's not like Hoffenheim are a small team. Are they Dortmund? No. Are they Bayern? No. But then again, you could say, well, the historic great clubs were Werder Bremen. Werder Bremen's in the shits. Schalke, they used to be one of the big, off to the Champions League
and
almost every season.
Schalke might get completely removed from history at this point. They get relegated again. They are no longer. They go down to the amateur levels.
Right, 3 Bundesliga. So
they go past that. They go past 3 Bundesliga.
Where are they now? 2 Bundesliga, right?
They're in 2 Bundesliga, so they got relegated. They get relegated again, and the amount of debt that they have,
Oh,
they get shit canned all the way down to the amateur leagues.
That's what I read too. You're right. Yeah. Boy, that would be crazy.
Wouldn't that be a thing?
Schalke has been a massive club in Germany my whole adult life. It's just crazy to see. But I mean, we saw Werder Bremen go down to Bundesliga not long ago either. So they were always a huge club. In my youth, Kaiserslautern was a huge club. They are nobodies now. So this whole idea of what's a big club really depends on the timing. Is Matarazzo qualified to go off and coach Ajax? I think so. I think he'd do fine.
It'd be amazing to see what he could do with a club that has resources. Right. I'm not saying like Chelsea resources that they just like burn cash. But I mean, a club that's always contending to be in the top third of a top 5 league that has money to spend on players.
Oh, Kelvin, get some context, Kelvin. Jesus Christ. I didn't say contacts. It's not that you can't see. It's that you're not able to see the forest through the trees. It's just a total lack of contextualizing anything. Someone tell him that Berhalter was sacked from the Swedish second division. Also tell him Pellegrino Matarazzo got Stuttgart promoted. Got Stuttgart into 9th in the first season. Saved Hoffenheim from relegation. Now has Hoffenheim in the top half of the table. Exactly. But that may not be good enough for the board at Hoffenheim. And I tell you what, the grass is not always greener. The grass is not always greener. So when Chelsea decided to get rid of all of their players or a lot of the players, they got them to the Champions League after a poor season under Tuchel, which, by the way, Tuchel's voice runs out. Like, players stop listening to him after a couple seasons. And in this case, in Bayern, it could be 1 season or a season and a half. The whole grass is greener thing is ridiculous.
So, BMR mentioned it earlier that in the last like 16 games or whatever it was, they've got like 2 wins. They got a lot of draws too.
a
lot of draws. But Bibby says that they're winless in the last 8. And yeah, that might be what the board is looking at. But it also says a lot that they're winless in 8.
And still
but they're still in 8th.
Mm-hmm.
So what, I mean, you got to take into consideration, I guess, basically what you put forth in the last bit there.
And that could be down to so many things in a season. It could be down to injuries that you take a dip. It could be down to, just a loss of form. It could be down to the schedule. Maybe you played a bunch of really good teams in a row who were on a hot streak. Or, you could just be in a slump. It happens, Even Mickey Mantle had slumps during the season on occasion. But by the end of the season, he had one of the highest batting averages in Major League Baseball. So it can happen. It can happen. Even Reggie Jackson occasionally couldn't hit a home run.
I think ultimately they're looking at the trajectory, and it seems to be going down. And it could be a spell. It could be that maybe Matarazzo doesn't have the hold of the team as it is right now. I don't know. And the board's looking at it, and they're like, well, you don't win this weekend, then you'll be on the hot seat.
From what I've not heard anything behind the news that the players have a problem with Matarazzo. So that can sometimes, if the players turn against you, that can really be like, it doesn't look like to me.
In Dortmund.
That's the certain, yeah, right. The certain didn't work at Dortmund to turn against him. Nope. But like it Bayern, you look at certain players playing for Tuchel, like Sané doesn't seem to really give 2 shits when he's out there. There are players that don't seem to be giving 100% when they play. And that makes it look like, as a manager, you've lost the locker room. And maybe some of that's happening behind the scenes. We don't know. It seems unlikely based on Matarazzo's record and his relationship with his teams in the past. He's always been a sort of a player's manager. So
they're 5 points out of Europa, a qualifier. Europa qualifier. But I mean, they're also 4 points off of Augsburg, which is in 11th. So I mean, there's wiggle room.
Yeah, I guess
if they continue their trajectory, of course, that's going to be an issue. I don't think they have a concern of being relegated by any means, but
yeah, I guess my instinct's not to panic, but then we're not there behind the scenes, and maybe there's things we don't know. again about the locker room and what they've been told by the board's been told by players. We don't know. So, yeah. I mean, I'd like to see him keep his job, but I will guarantee you this: if he loses it, he will get another one because he's known for saving teams from relegation. So he'll get another job. There's no doubt about it. In Germany,
yeah. So they're playing Union Berlin this weekend, and everybody's saying that it's got to be a must-win, and it's basically what the board is saying too.
Union Berlin have looked better lately. So
yeah, they've got 7 points in the last 5 games. It looks like.
So I mean, that's no gimme of a game because they're looking better.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's a gimme if you look at the overall that they started off so shitty.
Yeah, but again,
they're picking it back up.
I get that, but again, contacts-wise,
yeah,
Union Berlin have picked up. They're playing a lot better. They look like they finally found the starting 11 that they've been looking for. They're playing rather consistently. The same players are playing. But at the beginning of the season, we saw Berenson start, then not start.
Overly convinced, that win was not overly convincing against Wolfsburg by any means, but
yeah. But yeah, hope that Matarazzo stays. I'd like to see him stay, but that's just me.
All right. We're gonna move on to one of our favorite contributors to our show.
Okay.
Lexi
Lawless.
Here, let me zoom in on down here and let's see what this Jesse has to say.
Jesse McCunniff. Boy, you gotta be careful how you say that.
I feel like that you're looking at that going like, I feel like that's a fake name and it's trying to make me say something I shouldn't be saying.
Yeah, exactly. But there's no T in there, so we're all right. All right. If Tyler Adams gets the green light from doctors just before Copa doesn't have any games played, do we add him to the U.S. men's national team roster still? If so, who do you bump with how well our mids have been playing? Yeah, no. If he doesn't play any games, and I think Gregg has even said that much already behind the scenes. He's been quoted as saying, yeah, we're not going to risk him. We're going to risk him.
Yeah.
We need to know he's 100%. We're not going to bring him unless.
Well, nothing worse than bringing him as one of your 23 and then him, pulling another muscle, another groin muscle, and then being out for another 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
So unless he's consistently playing, no. Because even if he's got bit minutes here and there, is he better at that point than, say, bringing in a Maloney, who's playing week in, week out, playing very well?
Or bringing in Cardoso to take that.
Who's playing really well for Betis, yeah.
Not so much today, but yeah.
Nobody played well for them
today. Yeah, nobody.
Going off the foot mob the ratings, which I know, joking. I mean, it's a joke, but Johnny even had the best rating on them on the entire team. So even though his performance may not have been that great, the rest of the teams matched that.
Well, yeah, I shouldn't have said that. It's not him that was bad.
Yeah,
the rest of the team was absolute abject garbage. And that's a team they should beat. Alexi Lawless says, no, the U.S. men's national team is not a charity. Ooh, I agree there. Tyler Adams has certainly become a vital part of the team, but there can be no sacred cows. The U.S. cannot afford the risk of carrying players who can't do the job at the expense of others who possibly can as it prepares for 2026. Well, I'm not worried yet about 2026 and Tyler Adams. If he's still hurt by then, well, fuck it. But, I mean, he'll get his chance again if he's back and playing for Bournemouth. He'll be called back up again. But we got to wait. We got to make sure that he gets to come back, ease himself back into Bournemouth, play some freaking games, and that's going to happen after March, folks. So, yeah, I mean, no rushing it back, no risking more injury, no risking his career at this point, sounds like. So drop Miles Robinson. I mean, listen, Miles Robinson doesn't make my team, but he makes Gregg's. Let's be really honest. That's probably going to happen. And when we do the 23 later on, don't get pissed at us if we include Miles Robinson because Gregg loves Miles.
So I had this conversation with another group of people who were talking about Maloney and his performances and stuff like that. We're looking at a midfield where, depending on who we're playing, and maybe it might be nice to have a true 6 destroyer like Maloney in there
on occasion, yeah.
Since Adams is no longer out there. But I'm like, but I feel like people are missing an obvious opportunity here. Is the fact that Maloney played center back his entire career.
Yeah.
Up until last season when he started playing at Heidenheim in the second Bundesliga and started playing as a 6. Now, of course, we've talked a bunch about how he plays at Heidenheim and is basically a third center back in the attack.
Mm-hmm.
And he plays as the 6 in the defense, that type of thing.
Right.
But we're sitting here going like, well, who's our top 4? And we'll talk about our top 4 moving forward, who we pick, who Berhalter is likely to pick, etc.
Right.
And to Jonathan's point, as far as drop Miles, we could probably pick a top 4 that doesn't include Miles.
Oh, no, I think we could.
Couldn't we include a top 4 that might even include Maloney as a center back option? Because he's played that role.
We could bring him. But I still think it would be to play Tyler Adams' ball wrecking mode because I'd rather see Cardoso a little bit more free to play a little bit higher as one of the – it depends on if we play 2 or 3 midfielders. If we play a 4-2-3-1, then, we're bringing way too many midfielders to begin with. But Maloney – my only problem with Maloney and your idea of playing him, unless it's an emergency, was – center back partnerships are all about chemistry. And so I'd still rather see Richards and Ream start. And then you could have Maloney there to come in and play the ball wrecking mode at midfield when we want to close the game out. And you could use him in an absolute pinch at center back if you have to, but he's built no sort of chemistry with the other guys that play center back for us. That's
I'd argue and say outside of Miles, Ream, and Richards, who else has really? I mean, CCV has some chemistry. Absolutely, he's played in a handful of games. So there's that argument you can make.
Yeah.
But I guess my argument would be with our midfield being as full as it is, and again, we're going to get into this conversation later. I guess maybe I should have held this for then. But with our midfield being as congested as it is already. And we're talking about like when Adams comes back, even if he starts playing at the level he was playing at Leeds, who gets removed from the midfield?
Yeah, well, we'll worry about that at Copa. Yeah.
My point I'm bringing up here is we have 4 center backs. We know 3 of them roughly. I guess my argument would be is why on the 4th option, you could say bring a Maloney who could play center back. Because how often do you replace both center backs? Not often.
You could bring him in as a center back and just have him start to build that chemistry in practice, right?
And he's still viable as a destroyer 6/center
if you need
back.
it,
If you need it.
We would probably.
That's my point. That's my point. I guess.
We wouldn't necessarily need him to play midfield with Cardoso there because he can fill the destroyer
Like I
role
said,
too.
that midfield is getting more and more congested.
It is.
And you're looking at a player who's currently playing in the midfield in the Bundesliga, and he's playing well, but you're looking at the midfield going like, we don't have that many spots.
No.
Somebody's got to get removed at some point. So why not? That's what I was saying. Why not utilize him as a center back option that can play in the midfield as well?
You watch Musa today. He's a lock. McKennie's a lock. Cardoso's going to be a lock. Luca De La Torre's kind of maybe flapping in the wind. We don't know. I hope he's not. I don't think anybody.
I think he's a lock as it stands right now. He's a lock. But we're going to get into this. Let's not go too far, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
To Lexi's point here is that there's no sacred cows. I mean,
there's never really been sacred cows except for maybe Landon Donovan in the the World Cup. He got cut from Jurgen Klinsmann. I don't want to get into that again.
He was still playing going into that, so
right,
that's a little bit different.
Right, but he took a vacation. He came back and then he played the Gold Cup and looked great, and then got cut.
Yeah. He was still playing. He came in. We talked about his preseason form and how he was head over shoulders better than everybody else.
Yep.
As far as form is concerned,
fitness.
Call him in. You don't have to play him. Bring him in for the last 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. That's up to you, I guess. But that was a stupid decision. But
it was.
We've talked about that many times.
Oh God, no, yeah.
So I guess to close this part out is that if Tyler does come back and he's playing but not really playing, maybe he gets back up to the form, but who knows at that point by Copa time. But let's just say he's healthy and he has very limited minutes. Does he automatically just jump back into the lineup? I agree with Lawless in saying no. He's got to get back into form.
I agree with Lawless, but I think for Berhalter, it's yes.
No, but that's tough.
I know, but I'm just telling you, I think Berhalter loves him some Tyler Adams, and it's the intangibles too.
Yeah. Oh, hold on, is this nope, never mind. This is about something else completely. Kevin Follett said we need Yule, Leggett, and Acosta.
I know, is Leggett gonna still play another season? I thought he might.
I don't know, but Acosta's joining Chicago.
Good luck with that.
Hey, I'll take some defensive. I'll take some defensive midfield options here.
Yeah, you want one that can't keep possession and makes horrible choices and bad passes.
Hey, we'll have a set piece specialist at least, Derek.
Yes, you will, but that's about it. He is good at set pieces. I'll give.
Larry will ride you over the coals about Costa if you bash him here, Derek. So don't bash him. Don't bash him.
Yeah, I don't care. All right, what else we got? Kellen Costa is best in MLS. Well, there was a point where, you could say he deserved to be on the MLS All-Star team. But those days are long gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe he just needs a rebound here. But whatever.
He won't. He's at Chicago. He'll suck, just like the rest of Chicago does.
Speaking of MLS, let's quickly talk about a topic. Not the topic that we're going to cover in a recorded show later on, guys.
Okay.
Hey, 115 listening, let all your friends know that we'll actually have a non-clipped piece tomorrow. Also,
go out and buy the Straight Red Card shirts. They're down below in the description. They're badass. They're high quality. Ask anybody who's bought.
Allow us to start doing hats. I would love to get Straight Red Card hats.
Ask the 100 or so people that have already bought one over the last year and a half or whatever. That's not a lot of shirt sales. So we never bring it up. So it's on us. We never bring it up that we sell shirts. They're nice. And who's got a better logo than this out there? Not Tactical Manager, not 11 Yanks. We have the best fucking logo in the game, period. All right, MLS Communications. Thanks to our friend Simon Allen, who actually designed this for us, if you guys remember, the Dalai Lama of soccer, whom we also disagree with constantly, but we're still incredibly close friends. All right, MLS Communications. Major League Soccer today announced its world-class team of talented broadcasters. Oh boy, I'm already worried. And soccer legends. Jesus, can they pump this up a little more for the second season of MLS Season Pass on Apple TV? Yeah, exactly. It's world-class team of talented broadcasters. That's fine. Soccer legends?
Yeah, it's Richard Woman.
Not a legend, man. He's not a legend. You know who a legend? You know what a legend is? Thierry Henry's a legend. Okay? I don't see any legends here. None. Who's the guy on the far right? Looks like Kenny Saif. Who is that?
I don't know.
Kenny Saif.
So the right is who I said it was. On the right. I'm sorry, on the left. Let me rephrase that.
Robbie Wright Phillips, great in the MLS, had an okay Premier League career. Not a legend. Not a legend. He played in the Premier League briefly.
So yeah,
very briefly.
Apple and MLS were happy to broadcast. Hey, we got the peeps back. Our broadcasting, all of our coverage, all that stuff. So make sure that you sign up for MLS Pass on Apple TV.
All right, what are we doing commercials for him now? Spencer Doherty for $269. Yeah, giggity. MLS. USL better than MLS. Indy 11 wins Open Cup in this year with ease. God, I hope you're right. We have been waiting for an Open Cup, at least a competitive Open Cup run for a while for Indy 11. It's been a while. It's been It's been rough going, actually, for a host of seasons going now.
Here's another spin on that Apple news, by the way.
World Soccer Talk says MLS has trimmed its talent budget. That's so hilarious. But they have legends, but they've trimmed the budget for 2020, 2024 after production costs were greater than expected last year. You don't say. They thought this would be easy to do, didn't they, when they took this all over on themselves? 18 talent not renewed, 8 new ones joined.
So they cut 10 positions.
Christina Uncle will not be returning. I never understood that. Does Christina Uncle still referee? Does she referee? I know her dad was a referee, and I know she was a referee, but I don't know. She seems pretty young. She should still be refereeing games. MLS Season Pass has surpassed 2 million subscribers. Okay.
How many of those are free with, what is it, Verizon you have? Or whatever you got it from?
Yeah, it's free for 3 months.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, I mean, that echoes what Disney Plus did. Like, oh my goodness, we got all these subscriptions. Look at this crazy number. And you find out like a third of them are like free with T-Mobile or something like that.
Yeah. And then what happens during the off season? Like, where is the entertainment, the cover of the coverage of the transfers in MLS, all the other, but they don't do anything outside the games, really.
The fucking preseason should have been on there.
Oh, I agree.
Oh my God. I was every time Chicago posted something about the preseason, I'm like, hey, what's it streaming on? Oh, it's not streaming on anything. That's cool. I mean, the last 2 games of the preseason were streamed on like Minnesota's website and YouTube were the last 2. But I'm like, you have a streaming service that's paying you lots of money for content. Could you not put the preseason up on that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. There is no off-season content at all on MLS Pass that I know of.
Back out there with a handheld camera, something you can buy for $20, not $20, but like $100 at Best Buy, and stream the match. It doesn't have to be perfect by any means, but I was watching the first handful of Chicago preseason matches just from the Twitter feed. And for the first 2, there was no Twitter updates.
It's because you're a masochist.
It was like a day or 2 later. They're like, oh yeah, Chicago won against insert random team here 2-0. I'm like, that's good news. Could somebody not jump on the Twitters and post that?
Preseason's pretty anonymous for MLS.
It's so stupid. It's simple. People want content. People want to watch that shit because they've gone a couple months without watching their team.
But probably the return on investment isn't worth it for them. The ROI is too small. You have to put in all these production costs. You say, yeah, you're going to have one guy carrying a camera. There's got to at least be a few cameras out there.
I mean, if you stream it live to YouTube, I mean, that's not costing you a goddamn cent. Maybe YouTube charges them something, I guess. But, I mean, if we're doing this live right now, YouTube's not costing us a penny. How hard would it be to just, have the commentators look like you and me and then us sharing a screen with the game being played?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly not the way Major League Baseball builds up their preseason in Florida. That's huge. The people make trips to Florida to go watch their teams play in the preseason.
Strikes me as odd. It seems like a missing opportunity. It's not going to pull in crazy numbers, and they're not going to make a shit ton of money. They may actually lose money doing it, but it's gonna grow and develop. That's the thing. But
you got to build value for your MLS Pass, and if MLS Pass only means, 8
regular
months
season and next pro,
8 months of coverage a year, and then there's 4 months of nothing. Then what do you get in the 4 months of nothing? You should at least have people talking about, possible transfers, transfer news in MLS, projections for the next season, review of each team and their roster changes. I don't know. You could do things. You could.
It just, yeah, and the production costs are going to be first off, you shouldn't go that high in production anyways. Having an actual studio and then bringing in people to do podcasts and stuff like that, one should bring in multiple viewers and make money that way. But I don't know, it shouldn't be that difficult. Or just start allowing independent content creators the access. You don't even have to pay them. I guarantee. I mean, if I was given access to Chicago players and coaches and staff and everything like that to do interviews or get inside information, they wouldn't have to pay me to do it. I'd post that shit up.
I'd like to see the list of the 18 people who were let go, and I hope that one of them is not is not. Heath Pierce.
Yeah.
I feel really bad for Heath. He lost that job after losing the other one. All right, what else we got?
I'm just scrolling through here real quick.
I got midweek report still to do. Midweek report. Midweek report. Midweek report.
Go away. All right. Other talent not rehired in 2024 includes Juan Arango,
Patrice Bernier, Oliver Brett. It seems like they got Olivier Brett. They got that name mixed around. Is his name Brett Olivier? No, it's not. All right. No. Ed Cohen, Matthew Cohen, Gavin DeFalco, Jeremy Faloso, Stefano Fusaro. You know, I gave my girlfriend one time back in the 90s a Faloso. Sonny Guadarrama. Remember when he was supposed to be one of the next great things? Jose Hernandez, Sebastian Letou, and Jamie Watson. Damn, Letou getting the axe.
Well, they said also, so I was curious.
So he kept his job.
Uncle, right. They're talking about Uncle for a bit here, and then they said other people, yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, nice.
So it looks like Heath is still in there, but I think Heath is calling games, isn't he? He's not necessarily working on Apple's MLS coverage, is he?
I thought he called games specifically for LA Galaxy.
Yeah, I think that's separate from what MLS is cutting and everything like that.
Okay. All right.
Before we start jumping into the actual main topic, Twelman was on Lawless's show, and you said you wanted to cover that, so I get that pulled up right here.
Yeah, and this I want to play this because you remember when Tack was on our show and he said, like, yeah, now all the major pundits are saying that we need a signature win. And he's right. They're all saying the same thing. Like, it's actually almost unbelievable. It's almost as if they've all decided to say we don't have a signature win or a win of significance. Like, that's all you hear now, which is fine, but we got the point. We get it. Like, but everywhere you go, it's the same comment.
There's the joke. Obviously, there's the joke that's online about the NPCs getting their upgrade, and now everybody's saying the same thing. You know, we again, that was the thing we were saying that months, if not years, prior to this, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, everybody else is saying it.
And it wasn't, though. We had more context. Like, that's all people will say. We don't have a signature win. We've added context to why Gregg Berhalter doesn't have one and why we have played fairly mediocre against teams we probably should beat or should crush in some cases. And I think what they're doing, in lieu of actually producing the specific criticism and providing context for saying he doesn't have a signature win, it's easier just to say he doesn't have one. That's my criticism.
Yeah.
Well, why doesn't he have one?
Yeah.
Why? Have you been watching the games and the way we play? That would be more useful than being the 15,000th person on mainstream media to say, hey, he doesn't have a significant signature win. And that's exactly what Twelman does here. No specifics.
Why does Lawless look like he's trying to put on his best Steve Jobs appearance?
I don't know.
My nice long sleeve black turtleneck. Got my glasses. The only difference, obviously, is that underneath that hat, he's actually got hair, whereas Steve Jobs shaved his head down.
Well, Steve Jobs is dead.
Yeah, I know he's dead. I'm not saying he's waiting behind in the back, ready to come on stage.
I just thought I heard you
impersonating.
I thought I heard present tense in there. So
I said Steve Jobs has his haircut. So maybe that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, you use present tense.
Had
HAD. Okay,
English major boy.
May he rest in peace. But yeah, you can skip a minute in and play it.
Does it matter where? You just set a minute in?
Skip a minute in somewhere around there, yeah.
Some of that face. Look at that. Oh, where'd it go?
That's a good still.
I'm just not gonna get. We'll scoot back because he has a big
that signature win.
Nice timing.
That can then make all of us that have called you the golden generation of the American player actually look smart. Because until that happens, I can give you bigger wins with lesser talented generations up to this point. I think this summer provides you the opportunity to do so. But I think it is the most important period of time for the U.S. men's national team prepping for the World Cup. Because I've said this since the moment I've gotten on TV. I don't need to see the U.S. men play Panama, Costa Rica, Trinidad anymore. I don't. Because if the goal...
I would like to see the video evidence of this. Because I don't believe he actually said those words once.
Who?
Tolman. I don't think he said. I don't think from him jumping on TV for the very first time he's been saying it. Where we don't need to see the United States playing Panama, Costa Rica, and Jamaica. You know, I don't think he said those words ever once.
No, but
I don't watch all of his content, so maybe I've missed it. But I don't think he's ever said that.
I do have to break the news to him. We don't have much choice.
Yeah. Well, Berhalter hasn't beaten any massive clubs or any massive nationalities. Well, that's because we've brought this up. Berhalter hasn't had the opportunity to really beat these teams. He's had a couple during the World Cup, and that's about it.
Yeah, and he
literally about it.
Best game we played was a tie versus England. And let's just put it this way. If the level of our dominance against all the teams that Twellman doesn't want us to even watch play anymore is any regard of where we are right now as a team under Berhalter, then we're not doing very good. I mean, okay, yeah, we won a Gold Cup. Then we won the Nations League. That's fine. That's great. But it's not like we gone out there, except for Mexico, who we absolutely thrashed. But it's not like we're thrashing teams left and right. It's an occasional thrash. Very occasional. Absolute destruction of a team.
5-0 versus Panama. That's the last thrashing we had. I mean, we lost and tied to Canada in the World Cup qualifying.
We just lost to Trinidad.
I feel like, I mean, I agree in the sense that we don't have this big staple, this big massive win under Berhalter. Whereas, you know, you could go back through Bradley, Arena, and you can go back to Klinsmann, say, well, look, they beat Germany, they beat Brazil. They didn't never. I don't know if they ever beat Brazil, but
Italy,
they beat Germany, they beat Argentina, they beat this, Italy. You know, they tied France. These are all massive wins. You know, they've won in Europe a number of times.
We beat Spain, Confederation stuff.
I mean, these are all massive. These are all massive wins. Of course, they're staple wins for those teams. We don't have those opportunities right now because of what we talked about earlier in the show, with Nations League taking the forefront of, especially European Nations League, and then you throw in Euros,
Euro qualifiers, and Euros,
and then World Cup qualifying, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, there's no open windows to really bag a solid, you know, Euro team.
So this whole idea that FIFA, well, when they were making Nations League, they're like, well, we want to help the little guy. Well, that's great, but now you fuck kind of like the teams that are on the upper level of the CONCACAF region, because now they can't go out and play Germany, Italy, France, Spain, Portugal, because they're not available. So in a way, you actually didn't help the littler guys that aren't in the top 8. You fuck the guys that are somewhere between, 12 and 36, because unless they're in Europe, they're not going to get to play really good teams.
I think Nations League should be a biannual thing. It should be every 2 years.
I agree.
And you still have the Euros, you still have the World Cup qualifying, but it alleviates the schedule where it's not every window that's not a Euro, that's not a World Cup qualifying is a Nations League right now. It would open it up. So, and it would open up friendlies that, all of a sudden, I mean, I know that Germany's faced Japan, they faced the United States, they faced Mexico. That's happening there, but they're fewer and far between.
This still that you've got for Twellman looks like he's about to knob one.
Oh.
All right.
This is actually the still I was trying to get that entire time, but it actually worked out nicely here.
Well done. Move to 3 minutes in.
But yeah, so I mean, it's to your point from earlier. you can say, "Oh, we need these signature wins," but without the context behind it, it doesn't. It's just
nobody wants to break it down because nobody wants to criticize Berhalter. And in fact, instead of criticizing Berhalter, what we heard was the golden generation criticism. And that's more on the players, right? That's the players' fault. It's not Gregg. Like, you got to bring up Gregg. Gregg's part of the problem. He's certainly not been part of the solution. So,
well, and what are they saying with these signature wins? They're saying the signature wins are friendlies for the most part. I mean, yeah, I understand you can do these type of victories in the World Cup. I mean, but Berhalter's team got just as far as 90% of the other World Cup teams that have been out there for the United States.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough.
What else can you do? I mean, this quote unquote golden generation has had very successful club careers, more so than in the years past. They've won Nations League twice over. I mean, they've won Gold Cup once and then flamed out next year. But
if you're still struggling against Canada on occasion, and you're still struggling against Costa Rica, you're still struggling sometimes versus Jamaica, and you're United States men's national team, what do you really think is going to happen when you play Brazil?
They struggle more and then hopefully scrape away a 1-0 victory, Berhalter style.
When you struggle against Uzbekistan, or who else did we play? Struggle against Slovenia. Wasn't really.
That's not fair.
It's not fair there, but yeah. Anyhow, it's.
Yeah, but you're leaving off the fact that we lit up Oman and we lit up Ghana.
Well, yeah.
I don't even go so far to say we lit up Germany for that first half.
For the first half, we looked good. Yeah, and then Reina came out, and then we didn't look good. But I mean, that was at least hopeful that first half, and it made me think, okay, maybe Gregg's learned something. Or was Gregg there yet?
No. For which ones?
Germany. Yeah, he was there for Germany, wasn't he? I always forget when he showed back up after.
Showed up after the Gold Cup.
Okay, then I think he was there for Germany.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he was. Yes,
he was. Okay, and then 3 minutes in, and then we're done with this.
Solution.
It does.
Long term, what do you see for Gio? What would you recommend? Are you concerned about his situation?
He shouldn't play because of what his father did, right?
No, thankfully.
Oh, he says, okay.
No.
I am concerned. I'm concerned for multiple reasons. You change representation, right? And so when you change representation, obviously your contacts change. Who's now representing him? That isn't really public. I'd be intrigued.
Yes, it is public.
Not public?
It's public.
Well, then maybe you should spend more time on Twitter because apparently 90% of soccer Twitter knows more than you.
I mean, we all know who it is, and that's
who's representing him. Who's doing it?
The same guy who represents Nuno, and that's why a lot of people, including Tax, said he just went there because Nuno has the same agent. Now, I mean, he's going there to play. I think Nuno has plans for him. So, I mean, I don't know what he's saying there. That's just like crazy. We all know who his representatives, and then he goes on and say, Nottingham Forest wasn't the perfect spot for him, and then he's going to go back to Dortmund, and he could be jumping around from team to team going forward. Listen, I understand having concern, but that doesn't sound like concern. That sounds like kind of freaking out, and that's fine.
Look at his face, Derek. He's concerned. I mean, I don't know what's happening with it, man.
I just think concern's fine, but the way he describes it going forward doesn't sound like concern. Go ahead, you can play it. You can give me your point of view. But
to know who's representing that, because if you're really leaving Dortmund for Forest, when 6 weeks before that, 4 months before that, Sevilla was the one where everyone was telling me that's where he's going to end up going. Now I get it; they're in a relegation battle.
Who's everyone, dude? Nobody. You don't buy into that.
4 months, 6 months prior? No, that's no. What?
That's
what is he
not
talking
true.
about?
It's not true.
No, those rumors didn't come up until he switched over to Mendes. So no, all those stuff. And he's like, "You're leaving Dortmund for Forest?" Well, his situation at Dortmund's not good. Yes, he's getting minutes, and quite frankly, he's getting as much minutes as Forrest. But I think
whereas Dortmund,
Yeah. I'm
But
saying he looks happy. I think he looks happier at Forest, quite frankly.
He looks happier. I think this is a good challenge for him. He's going to learn a lot. We went through this.
Yeah.
And, he's wrong. And after the discussion with Tack, I think Tack and Brett Oppenheim, I think even Tack felt a little bit better, right?
So Derek, that's because we're always right.
But
Colin, that we believe our opinions are factual. And they are.
Well, he did feel a lot better by the end of the show. Let's just put it that way. And not that, not saying to me, because after all, he gave me a bloody nose at the beginning of the show. So there we go. Go ahead. Let's finish this thing.
Liga suits Giovanni Reyna. A relegation battle in English Premier League does not suit Giovanni Reyna. I don't
Why
care
not?
who you are.
I've been pause there, but I minimized it. Yeah. Why not?
What the fuck? He's only allowed to play for extremely good teams.
Well, I heard this conversation as well as from other people on Twitter is that, typically speaking, relegation-bound teams in the EPL players like Gio don't fit those molds. I'm like, well, that's very situationally based.
It is, and that's taking Nuno out of the picture completely. That's like you don't know who that guy is. Believe me, Nuno will have a way that he's going to figure it out, a way to use Reyna and get him involved in that team going forward, because they got to still score goals. And you know what? If you haven't seen Reyna in transition, he's actually really good in transition.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, he almost dribbled through the whole fucking Mexican team. How's that for transition for you going forward? Yeah. So, yeah, I just don't believe this. And so what? He'll have to play more defense. What are we going to cry about that? No,
You're going to cry.
It's a great learning experience. Let him learn from not having the ball and what it means to play when, like, for instance, if the U.S. has to play against Brazil, they're not going to have all the ball.
That's Terzic's biggest complaint about Gio was, he's not there on the defense. I'm like, well, first off, you're not requiring him to play defense, but second off, he's not as bad as you're leading up to be.
That's correct.
We've talked about that ad nauseum.
Now, when you look up, we brought up the stats as well. Yeah. So that's all bullshit. That is people looking at him.
But the goalposts get moved then, Derek. At that point, it's like, well, it makes a difference when he gets brought into the match. And at that point, he's going to be playing more defensively because the team's playing more defensively because they have the lead. I'm like, well, then he still has those stats and he can still play the defense. I don't get your argument here.
Yeah, I don't get it either. And it's like people just don't want to give this a shot. Well, it's too late. Reyna's giving it a shot. A lot of people are calling doomsday like this. A lot of people are saying this is going to be horrible. Well, I'll let him finish.
Bandit says Twelman wears his underwear the same way he wears his shirts.
Extremely tight.
Too tight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, guys. Talk a little higher then.
His little golf balls are evident.
And who you try to convince me on that? That's not going to work. With what happened at the World Cup, I am concerned that Gio will be now chasing this all the way around, trying to find himself when this is the most important part of his, I would say, player identification period of understanding who he is and who he wants to be.
Give me a fucking break. Like we're talking about a toddler or a teenage girl?
Well, of all the players in the United States pool, who's the one player that doesn't have to concern himself with his identity?
It's Reyna.
I think Gio has the most arrogance and confidence of all players on the entire roster, and that's more than Pulisic in this sense.
Yes,
he exudes confidence. He exudes arrogance, and he doesn't. Oh, he has to figure out who he is.
Yep, this
isn't a spiritual trip to the Southwest. Popping medication on the entire time. No, this is a.
I hate these panic button
so
pushers.
Stupid.
Ambulance chasers. They're just looking for something to go wrong. So when it does, he can come back later and go, look, I told you all that wasn't going to work. Well, fuck off, dude. You don't know that. And he's so fucking, like I said, this isn't concern anymore. This is panic. All right. This is panic. And there's a difference between being concerned. Why does arrogance equal positive? It doesn't always. It doesn't.
Doesn't have to.
It's self-confidence. There is no doubt that Reyna has a lot of fucking self-confidence in his game as a person. He He's looking for his identity as a player.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
He knows exactly who he is. He's peacocking, and yes, that could be bad. That could be good. It depends on the situation, and it depends on the surrounding situations too. Of course, if he's peacocking and he's not performing, then all of a sudden the rest of the team is going to be like, "Dude, what the fuck is this all about?" You know. So it's not always good. It wasn't meant as this is great news, but he knows who he is. Period.
For 2 games, we don't have a whole lot to look at so far with Nottingham Forest. I've seen no issue with him getting back and playing defense. In fact, I think he's been busting his ass to show people, I will get back and help. I will come back. I will sprint fucking 80 yards to get back and help. So that's all I need to see.
And a lot of Forest fans are out there saying they want to see more of Gio. They want to see more minutes rather than the 10 or 15 minutes in the game. They want to see him brought in earlier. They want to see him start. Not necessarily as a starter, but start a match here or there.
Forest fans are calling for it, and I guarantee you, and seems to be something like no one takes into account here. Does anybody know the history of Nuno as a coach and the way he actually likes to play? Well, he's going to work that into Nottingham Forest. He's just not going to sit back and park the bus and hope to score on a counter. That's not what Nuno's about. He's going to find a way to work Reyna into this lineup. A little more, and a little more, and a little more each time.
Yeah. I watched the Nuno presser today. He did his pre-match presser, and he looks so fucking bored out there.
Yeah,
and I thought that they had the American mainstream media asking questions because everything was like softball. They weren't talking about like, hey, you're going through a rough patch here. What are you going to do to turn it around? I mean, do you feel concerned that, of all these losses, et cetera? They're like, yeah, all the AFCON players are going to be coming back soon. How does that make you feel? I mean, what do you think of Adoy figuring out his game? Is he coming along now? Is this something you're seeing in practice? Is he a leader? It's just like, he's like, it is what it is. And,
yeah.
It was like, I was hoping for some nuggets in there. I'm like, this is boring.
Yeah. Speaking of boring, telling the audience that there's no one that can convince you that this move was a good one, that you can't be convinced of it. There's no discussion you could have with anybody. Like maybe you might want to sit down and have that discussion with Gio Reyna because he seems very sure about this move. And you know what? If it doesn't work out, he's going back to Dortmund. The fuck? It's not like he's going to be clubless and have no place to go
down in the championship. No, that's not. No,
and they have no option to buy, so it's not like he's staying at Forest. He's going back to Dortmund, and Dortmund are either going to they will have a new manager by the time he gets back, and anything can happen from there. But this is nothing to panic about. Like talk about reaching for items to discuss on your show. Jesus Christ!
Sound like us.
Well, we were fine with the move.
Oh so yeah, we're not knee jerk.
I mean, we don't know if it's going to be great or it's going to be good or it's going to be poor or it's going to suck. We don't know, but I'm not jumping straight onto it's going to suck. And this is going to be horrible, and I need to panic right now for Gio Reyna. God damn, he's not a teenage girl. All right, He has an identity already. If you haven't noticed that, then you are paying attention to the players themselves. It's kind of like our debate with, Max on all these players coming back to MLS before the World Cup. Then you don't know those guys because they have no plans to come back, and they have higher aspirations as players. Reyna is not going to come play in MLS before the next World Cup. It ain't happening.
Yeah, and I haven't sat down and watched it, but apparently Max has posted another video, a video as of today about this same topic that we brought up on our show. So that's got his creative juices flowing. He's like, I really want to talk about this more. So I'll sit down and watch and see what he has to say.
Yeah. Oh, just a quick midweek. Sergeant 56 goal and a win. A goal after the PK was saved.
He did it on purpose. He wanted to pad his stats. 2 shots. He got 2 shots and scored a goal.
Your boy, Alex Mendez, was in the 18 for Vizela, didn't play. I mean, I don't know what to tell people who are still Alex Mendez fans. he's in a world of hurt. Wednesday, Haji Wright, 28 in a tie. I don't know why he didn't start, frankly. Matthew Hoppe made the 18 at Middlesbrough. I announce again, Matthew Hoppe. There was a Matthew Hoppe sighting in the 18, right?
Game day. Nice.
I did get confirmation that Dwayne Holmes is injured, so it's not about attitude. Reggie Cannon went 90 in a loss. I mean, QPR are sticking like a rock. They have been all season. And that loss was to Lyndon Gooch, who got 10 for Stoke, and they desperately needed that win. Polvara, 30, then dragged off the field, injured for Aberdeen after 30 minutes. That's not good news for him. Pulisic, 81, and Musa, 90 today, and was a frustrating game to watch, frankly. A lot of Pulisic putting his arms out and saying, pass me the ball, pass me the ball, pass me the ball. Look at me. I'm open. Nobody passing the ball.
Second or third game in a row of that happening.
That's getting so frustrating. And he looks frustrated, frankly. Timothy Chandler in the 18 for Frankfurt. Henry Wingo for Verona Cavaras. I always forget
is Chandler playing the coach / manager role at this point?
He is the well, if you know anything about Timmy Chandler, he's become sort of like the team clown. Like, he's a funny guy, like apparently. You can go watch some of the Eintracht Frankfurt on like their preseason stuff. He's kind of like the McKenny of Eintracht Frankfurt, except he doesn't play.
Fair enough. He's also like 10 years older than Weston as well. So
yeah, exactly. Cardoso, as we said, went 90 in a loss today for Betis. So that is the midweek report. And now we give you and present our 23.
Yeah. Real quick, I'm going to jump back to the Geo conversation real quick here.
That's going to be a really short show we're having here.
Yeah, no.
Loverdad.
Loverdad said if he was great, he'd be starting. He has great ability and great heights he could reach. Basically, because Loverdad was talking about how, like, great players have earned the right to be arrogant, whereas Gio hasn't necessarily earned that because he's not showed it yet. What he's kind of alluding to. But I mean, while at Dortmund, I mean, he's prior to his injury, he was a consistent starter, playing very well. He got injured. He came back.
The American dream
last year. He's played well at all youth levels and senior levels, quite frankly, for the United States. But true enough that he hasn't nabbed that consistent role as of yet, whether it's at Dortmund or whether it's at Forest. Of course, the big problem is he plays a specific role that right now at Forest, White's playing very well.
Yeah.
How do you squeeze them in there together?
They'll play out wide. Or
Adoy and Elanga is playing well right now.
Or they'll still change formation. I'm just telling you, Nuna's going to work them in. So I think everybody can see Reyna and they see the class. I'm not going to see he's a great yet, but I see class.
He still has a lot to show and a lot to earn.
He does. He's got a lot to earn and a lot to show still. I agree with that. But even his class is so evident that Nottingham fans are all over saying he needs to start.
So Fumar brings up the Nottingham should play with 2 10s. Yep. There was talk, the Nottingham Forest TV guy that I've brought up a number of times. He talked about in a video today that he could see an opportunity if Nuno wanted to go very offensive, where I forgot who he put in the 6 role. And it's somebody who played last week, but I don't know enough about Forest to know who exactly that is. But he talked about White and Reyna playing dual 8s.
You could play a 4-1-4-1 and squeeze them both on there.
Yeah.
With one holding midfielder in front of the back 4. Is it risky? Yeah. If you're Nuno, you need to win games. You need to score points. We'll see. I've never taken Nuno as a conservative player, coach, manager. He's not. He is not going to park the bus. So we will see more Reyna. There's no doubt about it. Unless he goes out there and fucks up completely, which there's just no way. He's shown no sign of being nervous, no sign of losing balls, making bad passes, being dispossessed. None of that in the, 30 minutes we've seen so far.
So Yates may be coming out. This is what they're assuming. Now Nuno might not necessarily do this per se, but most people who are talking about White and Reyna playing together would be saying Yank Yates, and a number of Forest fans apparently, and I'm only the people I've seen on YouTube. So I guess I don't know the inner minds of all Forest fans by any means, but a lot of them are not necessarily high up in Yates. So.
Well, and they've seen Reyna now, and they want more.
So it sounds like, at least, yeah.
It's just a nothing burger. Greg Berhalter says Sergio Dest's red card against Trinidad is a great moment for U.S. men's national team, one they can learn from. It's a great moment for us to grow as a team. I think that's it's okay for him to say that it's great in the sense that it's brought a lot of things to light, and that we need to grow, that we can't be derailed anymore. If such a thing happens again and somebody gets a red card, we can't just fall apart. So, I mean, maybe the words he used weren't the best words, but I know what he's trying to say.
Well, and personally, I'm okay with how he handled the whole Serginho Dest issue. Yes, it was a meltdown. Unfortunately, it's happened twice now in recent history.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with him not necessarily throwing him under the bus and saying like, "Oh my God, this kid's he's going to have to work his way back up." Blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, did Serginho Dest do more damage to the U.S. men's national team than either Reyna or Weston did on their issues that they got penalized for?
No.
And Reyna missed a World Cup match, and Weston missed 2 World Cup qualifying matches for their thing. Right. That happened off the pitch. But right. you have a player here who completely lost his cool, and it's a different mentality. Which again, I'm fine with the mentality as a whole, as long as you take him aside and say, "Hey, dude, we cannot have this happen again. You know, you're going to be skating on thin ice until you can prove that you're cooling things over, but you're still very important to the team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera."
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have called it a great moment.
Well, it's great in the sense that there'll be times where you're down a man.
Sure,
but you learn how to do this.
People take everything out of context now, and that's why he's got to watch every word he says. Sometimes saying things like "it was a great moment for us." That's all people will clip out. Like at the beginning of this, it says, "Red card against Trinidad is a great moment for the U.S. men's national team." If you clip it out like that, that looks horrible because it is not. It's a bad moment. But if you read the whole sentence, thankfully, U.S. men's national team only gave you the full quote. But others I have seen not provide the full quote, and it makes Gregg look stupid. So I wouldn't have used the word great. I would have just said it's a moment for us to grow as a team. I would not throw the word great in there.
Yeah, it's definitely a moment that we need to learn from. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
This is just kind of leading us into the upcoming Nations League because, again, with this red card, he's out for the Jamaica match.
But he's still going to be in the 23.
That's what Gregg kind of sounds like.
Oh, yeah. He's coming. They're not going to punish him any further. So,
all right. So first off, let me bounce this over to a 4-3-3 because it's or 4-2-3-1.
There, yeah, 4-2-3-1. I think Gregg's basically surrendered to that formation.
So here's what I want to do because it's gonna. Otherwise, that's why I don't have to bounce between areas to do it. Let's just do our starting, what we expect to be the starting 11, and then we'll do subs afterwards.
Okay, sounds good.
Real quick though, Larry donates 10.
What if Chandler
pulled a Dest? That would require Chandler to have played more than a handful of games for the United States.
Also, would totally have to change Timmy's character because that's not him.
That's not him. Yeah, I agree.
No, he's a super nice dude.
So I don't know. I don't know if this is in reference to the fact that he paid $10.
Sorry, Larry, you make to give us $1.99.
Too late, sir.
Nothing we can do about it.
No take backs.
Nothing I can do about it. All right, Turner starting in goal. That's easy.
But yeah, to your point though, with Chandler, yeah, it would be a completely different personality there because that's I would the Chandler thing.
I would say ask my mom, but people will take that the wrong way. So I think I've mentioned several times on this show in the past that
I'll pull up a handful of your upcoming chats just so that way you get your money's worth.
So I've mentioned before on this show that my mom translated for Timmy Chandler in a couple interviews that he did for Brian Schroeder. So she got to know him kind of well because she had to also clarify things he would say back to English. She didn't want to get the quotes wrong. And that's sticky business, by the way. So, but anyhow, good kid. She loved Timmy Chandler. She thought he was the nicest kid. I
think. Oh, sorry. Were you done with that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm just done with that. Yeah.
So I think Jedi and Scally are guaranteed starts at this point for Jamaica
for game one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Ream and Richards, especially since Richards is now getting some time at CB.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we'll see.
Even if he was only getting time at the 6, I mean, there's no way he's not starting next spring.
He's played center back, defensive midfielder, and right back this season so far for Crystal Palace. What's next? Goalkeeper? We'll see. The two holdings are going to be McKennie and Musa.
I think starting off Musa and McKennie, yeah.
And then the top, I think, is pretty easy too. It's Pulisic, Reina, and Weah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question. Would be with Reina's limited playing time, does Tillman sneak in there?
No,
I don't think so either. I don't think so either. Now here's the big question: who's starting striker?
I think Balogun will start anyhow. We're talking about Gregg, so I think he'll start. I personally wouldn't. I'd start Pepe, but I think Balogun's going through a bad moment. I also think Pepe plays in Gregg's system. He knows it. He's better at it. And if I'm Gregg, I'm really surprised he keeps starting Balogun because they can't seem to figure out how to use him. And even Gregg said, I don't know how to use him. So, yeah, tough. So that's 11 players right there. Let's pick another goalkeeper. It's probably going to be Horvath, right? Although we have to have 3 goalkeepers for this tournament.
So I know Tact said on his show, he goes, it's a toss of coin. He went with Calendar. Because here's something he mentioned. He goes, Slonina seems to be set for Olympics, but do you think Chelsea's going to release Slonina for Olympics?
No.
I don't think so.
I mean, will he?
I would be honestly surprised because they're going to be looking for another loan out of once Eupen gets relegated, of course. They're going to loan him out somewhere else, and that next team's going to want him there for preseason. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think Olympics are in his cards.
I don't think so. I don't think anybody worth their salt is going to be released from Europe to play in the Olympics.
So that's why I think the third goalkeeper is going to be Gaga, because he doesn't have the Olympics in his future. That's my opinion.
I know the way things are going down right now. I agree with you because we got Leagues Cup too, right? Going on. So we're
during that time period. Yes, I mean even MLS is going to be shanked.
So MLS is going to be shanked. The European players, European teams do not release anybody of importance for the Olympics unless you're Messi and you can make it happen because you're Messi. You get to do it. You have to. I mean, even we heard Jesse March talk about a time he let a player on his team at Leipzig go and play in the Olympics, and he totally regretted letting him do that because the player was spent when he came back. All right, so that's 13 players. We got 10 more.
Chicago Fellow says it's whoever's playing best in MLS between Chandler, Stefan,
Calendar.
What did I say?
Chandler.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on that. This is gonna be tough, guys. Because do you think Columbus is going to release their goalkeeper during the Olympics if they're in Leagues Cup?
Exactly.
Doing well.
Once Chicago Fellow, Leagues Cup is. I don't think you're going to see teams in Leagues Cup and MLS release their starting goalkeepers.
I think we're going to be seeing a lot of youth players in Europe that aren't are playing for whatever U19s, U21s, or whatever it is at the point. And then some players that are like union players that rarely see the pitch. We talked about a couple of union players.
The Leagues Cup changes everything about the Olympics now.
Colorado just picked up Stefan, and they're paying them DP money. Do you think they're going to release him for the Olympics? I doubt it.
Nope.
Plus, he'd be an overage player, which is possible. They might use him. So I don't know. This is it's tough. This is gonna be given the fact that it's coinciding with Copa and it's coinciding with the League's Cup. I mean, the Olympics make it like a third string U23s at this point.
I mean, it's looking, that's what it's looking like. All right, so that's all our goalkeepers. Now we got to get center backs. Let's go.
Well, number two is left back. Let's go with him first.
Lund.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tax sat on a bit for as far as trying to figure out who was going to be the fourth option at a back, and he's like, I think I'm going to go with Lund. I'm like, well, of course you're going to go with him. Why wouldn't they?
And then Des will be the other one, which you might have to put him in there with Lund since you don't get a whole lot of slots in this.
All right, so 3 and 4. So 3 is going to be Reams, our left center back.
The backup there. So, I mean, listen, is CCV going to be healthy by then? I think so, based on all the reports. So I'm thinking CCV and Miles Robinson are your two.
I think he's going to be back. He's going to be back early March. We play late March, so
I think that'll be enough. I think
CCV and who else?
Miles Robinson. This is what Gregg's doing, people. It's not. I'm just telling you, that's what he's going to do. Des already in there, and then here it is where, like, how many midfielders can you bring?
All right, so 7 and 8. 7 and 8 are going to be our, I don't know.
Cardoso, Luca De La Torre.
LDLT.
But, we're going to bring one more, probably.
Yeah, we'll add him in a second, but let's get
the backup 10, Tillman. Backup to Pulisic. I'm going to go on a limb here and say Haji Wright.
Oh, I was going to go Paredes.
No, I think Haji Wright's done more for his team.
Too many G's there. Yeah, I don't disagree with you on that, but I mean, Paredes has been included the past couple windows, and he is playing decent for a Bundesliga team. So,
okay. I mean, on and on, off again. But does he give you the kind of physical presence and speed on the backside of the defense?
He's definitely a different winger than Wright is.
This is a hard one. I agree, but I think Haji gets it. And Haji's got the experience too. So I'm going to go with Haji and then
That's fine.
And then Weah. I'd like to say Sargent here, and I think I'm going to say Sargent because I think Gregg loves him some Sargent. He's going to have to figure out a way to get Sargent on this team.
I don't disagree with you that he likes Sargent. And obviously the big argument is I think at the at the striker, he's going with Balo and Pepe because history.
Yep.
So you got to have to kind of figure out a way to squeeze Sargent in there if you want to kind of sort of reintegrate him back with the team and see who's competing at what role. But I mean, you're looking at if you bring in Sargent at that point, you're basically playing two strikers who can play wings. We talked about this.
Right.
Well, they're not out and out wingers. But then again, our out and out wingers aren't very viable. I mean, I know we have Booth who's coming up. I mean, he had a bunch of mediocre games followed by 2 incredibly great games. Let's see if he can continue that streak.
Right.
Zendejas, is he injured still or is he back?
Even when he's not injured, he's not a regular starter right now.
And
for
he's
America.
had a shit performance with us last time he was with us. So that's got to be a tough. I mean, when we're talking about Nations League, we can't take chances like that.
Yeah, I think you go with Sargent if you're Gregg because you'll love Sargent. I don't think you go with
honestly, I think personally, my opinion of what Gregg's going to do, and I'll happy to put Sargent down because I want him to do that. I think he's bringing Aronson.
Yeah, that's so tough.
I think it's going to be Aronson. Not that I want Aronson there, but I think it's going to be Aronson. Even Larry agrees. Brendo's a lock, and he doesn't.
He gets arrested for public exposure. You know what? Then take Wright off and put in Sargent because I think he'll take Sargent before Wright.
I think so too.
and then Aronson, I guess.
We'll put Sargent twice because he's that good.
Aronson doesn't deserve it, folks.
All right,
just saying it. He doesn't deserve it.
No, I 100% agree. But Berhalter's a creature of habit.
I know,
and he'll make some changes here and there, of course. But I think Aronson's going to be one of the locks, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think you need to.
Bimar says even if he gets arrested
for public exposure,
driving his car too quickly, apparently.
Well, there's not a lot of that. You're in Germany.
Well, you can do that in Germany. You can't do that necessarily on the.
Get on the Autobahn and drive as fast as you want.
The Autobahn, yeah.
Driving good Volkswagen. All right, so we got one more to add, and that's obviously Pepe. So
that's 22-23. That's so it's 22. Then we have 3 goalkeepers. That's 23. So yeah, that's
23.
Well, I mean, there's 11 positions times 2 would be 22.
So what's
and then we have 2 goalkeepers extra, so that's 23. So that's our roster, guys.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we think.
Disagree? After the show's over, make sure you put it down in the comments down below. Not while we're talking here in the chat. Our comment sections for our live streams kind of get forgotten about.
Well, not by Larry.
Larry's got a lot to talk about.
Larry's got a lot to share. Anyhow, thank you guys for sticking with us for 2 hours and 15 minutes on a Thursday night.
Kind of surprised.
Well, there really wasn't a whole lot to talk about, but Brett and I managed to babble on and fill up 2 hours. No problem. No problem. Shocking to both of us. We were going into the show saying, there's not a lot going on right now. Yeah, this could be a short one. We say it all the time, and we're wrong every fucking time. It's unbelievable. So, but we wanted to thank you guys for hanging out with us and subscribing and liking and sharing, and some of you buying, at least 100 of you buying shirts. That's really cool. Hey, and if you wear it at a game, take a photo, let us know, send it in. We'll post it.
Also want to give a special thanks to John K., Spencer Darity, and Larry for the Super Chats.
Yes, very much thank you on a slow Thursday. We will be back on Monday. There are things to cover over the weekend, so we'll be back, and we are working on getting Meg on here.
She just sent me a message, so I'll go check that out after we're done.
Okay, and Jimmy, and maybe Eric Ronaldo if I get the courage this weekend.
Maybe Alexi Lawless if Max puts in a good word for us.
God, it better be the best word ever. Because we have torn him a new one on the show many a times.
That's half his Twitter feed, though.
You know what? I'll suck it up and I'll deal with it. Kind of like I'll have to deal with my call with Winalda this weekend. So, all right. Make sure you share it with your grandma. And again, don't let your family stigmatize you if you're dating your stepsister. I've had enough of it. We're putting our foot down here. Stick to your guns.
Yep.
And love is all that. Well, what John Lennon said? Love, love. It song's a bitch because it's in 3/4. Your brain wants. Yeah, your brain wants to keep.
All you need is
love. All you need is love. You need is love. Love is all you need. Good night, guys.
But she's a trap. She's an unsung novel. Turn a lap and get your whole world dazzled on the line. Or a phone call with or without wine.
That hurt.
Then what is this thing?
Gio should never play for U.S. men's national team again because of the action of his parents.
What?